We'll call this caucus to order. This is the caucus to fill the vacancy for the Monroe County Council Member at Large. My name's Efrat Rosser. I'm the Monroe County Democratic Party Vice Chair, and it is my honor to be the presiding officer over this caucus today. If any of the precinct committee members who are voting, those will be the chairs unless you have given that to your vice chair. If you have not checked in, please make your way towards Ashley to do so. Do we have everyone checked in? Okay, and we'll try to keep an eye on the door, and folks can help us funnel people this way if they come in late. All right. We're here with a rather solemn duty and a heavy one. As we all know, we lost Cheryl Munson, who was a dear friend and mentor and colleague to many of us all too soon. And as we set our intentions for this caucus and the vacancy that she left, could we please honor Cheryl with a moment of silence? Thank you. So some thank yous and some housekeeping we'll go through real quick before we get to the heart of the program. First of all, I would like to thank some of our guests, including Matt, I'm going to try not to butcher it, Kochivar, yes. From the state party, the state election, say it.
Indiana Election Division.
Thank you.
I will note, though, that I am here in my personal capacity and not as an employee of state government. I just know rules.
As our parliamentarian, thank you. As well as Adam Dickey, the chair of the 9th District. We also have Clerk Nicole Bolden from the city of Bloomington, who will be around to administer the oath if the winner today so chooses to take that today. So thank you for doing that. And I see a number of elected officials who have joined here in their personal capacity. Some of you are voting members, some are here in support. If you are an elected official in this county, could you stand up or raise your hand as you're able? And let us acknowledge you. Thank you for all that you do. And finally, thank you to the candidates who have stepped forward to fill this vacancy and to participate in this process. We know that it takes some bravery to jump into something that is a little different. We hope we don't have to do this too often, but you've all been just great to work with through this process to get here, and we hope we can run today's caucus in a way that is similarly as professional and efficient and all of that good stuff. So Secretary Pirani took the roll upon people entering, so I'm going to turn to you for the tally.
So out of the 68 eligible individuals to vote today, we have 59 present.
That's a great turnout. Fantastic. Thank you, Secretary. And with that, let's get to the agenda. And if you would like a copy of the proposed rules, we have some here. I know they were emailed out, but if you need a hard copy, we have some up here. And then we can adopt these, or if there are any motions or amendments from the floor, we can hear those now. Ms. Gibbons.
Yes, I would like to.
Okay.
This is a very important position.
Jeff, I heard you second, correct?
Are we, she has two things though. Are we splitting them up or you want
You
to
have
get?
to do two, yeah.
Okay, okay. So who made the second?
Jeff.
Okay. Okay, so there is a motion and a second to limit the statements to 4 minutes. And any debate, discussion?
Commissioner.
Yes. It was proposed at 6 minutes.
Did everybody hear the question? She asked what the current time allotment is for opening statements, which is 6 minutes.
And so there's a motion and the second to change that to 4 minutes. Yes, Mr. Volin.
I'm not sure it's fair.
Thank you, Mr. Volin. Any other discussion? Yes.
I went through it, 16 minutes total.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Is that a force? I want to make sure I have you clear, Jean. So would that be more of a concern? So that would be a con rather than a pro?
It's an observation.
Okay.
I see Pam Davidson. Mhm.
Thank you. Since someone raised the issue of people have already prepared 6 minutes, is it appropriate to ask them, would that circumvent any of their prepared remarks? Is that appropriate or not?
I would say that this is a voting body to decide and discuss. And I saw, yes, Dan Combs.
I would think, in the interest of use, at least in city council meetings and I believe in county council commissioners meetings, has always been the duration of the meetings, and asking them to, on the spur of the moment, tighten up is not an undue burden, and I would support this motion.
Thank you. Margie?
I'm afraid we're going to take up more than 16 minutes talking about this, so I'm going to call the question.
Call the question. Fair. Well, all those in favor.
I need to ask for a
I'm
second.
sorry. Oh, I need a second for the motion. Second from Sydney, thank you. All those in favor of the motion to limit statements to 4 minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you.
The second motion that I'd like to make would actually give the candidates longer to speak, those that survive. And I am proposing that after 2 rounds of voting, and this would assume that no candidate has received a majority of the votes, I move that we have a second period of up to 30 minutes of questions and answers so that we can dig deeper into those that have a better chance of making, of being elected into this position. And then if the body so chooses, after an additional 2 rounds, if we still do not have one person who comes out as the clear winner, that we also consider a second round of an additional 30 minutes. Now, I know that prolongs it. That's not my goal, but I think that this is a very important position to fill, and I would like to hear more from the candidates who make those first cuts.
Who said the second, please? Thank you.
Penny, do you have that written down that you can give to me? So that was a lot of words. I want to make sure I capture it.
Is it possible to separate the questions so that we just vote on that initial additional 30 minutes, and then if you want, and then have another proposed amendment for a second 30 minutes?
Would you like to state that as a motion to divide the questions?
Yes,
Thank you.
I motion to divide the question.
Second.
And the second name, please? Thank you, Wayne. Okay, so the motion is to divide the question, and we had a second, and why don't we vote on that unless there's discussion on dividing?
There's no discussion.
Okay.
It's non-debatable.
Thank you. A little rusty at this. So no discussion on that motion. Let's vote on that. All those in favor of dividing the question, say aye. Any opposed to that? Okay. That motion carries. We're going to divide the question. So, Penny, your motion stands out there for discussion to, oh, thank you for writing it. After 2 rounds of voting, assuming no candidate has received a majority of the votes, move that we have a second period of up to 30 minutes for questions and answers following the same procedures as those in items 1 through 6 of Rule 5. That's the motion up for debate. Yes, Kathy?
How long it stands right now if we, in the rules? How many minutes they would have for discussion right now?
So this would be in the second round of voting. The first round, we had as 60 minutes. And the second round, I'm looking. I think that was up to the chair. Okay. So it would just be defined as 30 minutes. That's the motion, because it's not defined currently.
It's not currently not defined. Okay, thank you.
Yes. On the second round. The first round will have 60 minutes. The second round, the motion is 30 minutes of Q&A.
Okay, is there going to be a limit then on the amount of time the candidates can use to answer?
There is proposed in the rules 2 minutes. Okay, if no further discussion, the motion was that after 2 rounds of voting, assuming no candidate has received a majority of the votes, we will have a second period of up to 30 minutes for Q&A following the same procedures as those in items 1 through 6 of Rule 5. This does not include a round that might be necessary to break a tie of 2 or more candidates with the fewest votes. So there
would not be another round of initial statements. So it would be 2 through 6, correct?
Yes.
So do we need to make I want to make sure.
Okay, we'll just, okay. Any further discussion? If not, call the question. I can do that, right?
Yes, you can
Yeah,
do that.
okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. Any other, on the second one? Okay, and so does Penny need to restate that? Oh, it's in here. Okay. So the second motion was after an additional 2 rounds of voting, meaning a total of 4 rounds, and if no candidate has received a majority of the votes, motion is that we have a third period of up to 30 minutes for Q&A, again following the same procedures as item 2 through 6 of Rule 5. So that motion needs a second. We need a second?
No, it's already been, you've already divided the
Divided
question,
it.
so it's the same.
Thank you. Okay. There's a call to question by Steve, I believe. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. I think the nays have that one, meaning there will not be a time limit on that round, if I'm reading that correct. Yes, Isabel, Councilmember Piedmont-Smith.
So, Vice Chair Rosser, I thought that these extra times for Q&A are additional to what the rules state. So currently the rules do not have a Q&A after the voting has started. So what you just said in that we will not set a time for a second round of Q&A following.
It will not be 30 minutes.
It won't exist as far as I can tell from the rules.
Right, and we just struck that down.
So rules at 92 minutes. Then if we get before round 3.
That's how I understood it too. Yes, so that was struck down, so, yes. Dan, I know you had your hand up first, and then you're next. Yes. Who seconded? Okay, Sue, I do have to take this then. There's a motion and a second to adopt the rules as amended, so let's debate that. Any discussion? Okay.
One more amendment before change, because I think that point 8 needs to be amended to say following the exhaustion of the question period and or an approved motion to close the question period and proceed to a vote, because right now it's written following the exhaustion of the questions, which kind of doesn't line up with point 7, which says the question period will last no longer than 60 minutes. So I think it's cleaner if we amend that to say following the exhaustion of the question period, to make that clear.
Any other discussion on the motion to adopt the rules as amended? Yes, Regina.
Is it possible to amend rules as we go along if we feel something else is needed?
I think we're
You'll be
done.
under a suspension. Once this is passed, we move on according to the agenda.
Okay, under the suspension parts of Robert rules, but otherwise the motion is currently to adopt the rules before us as amended. So I'll call the question, I think, just to limit confusion here. All those in favor of adopting the rules as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay. So we'll proceed here, and then if we get to that, that would be under a suspension of rules. Could suspend the rules and say that again. Thank you. Okay. All right. So with that, we're going to get into the public forum where the candidates now will have 4 minutes for opening statements. Are you setting the timer? All right, there'll be a timer that goes off, so listen for that. It's not a visual, but there'll be a ringing that goes off, and so that'll be your warning to wrap it up, please.
I will set a timer for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. When you hear that go off, you know you have 30 more seconds. How's that?
Okay. And we're going in alphabetical order, and then we'll snake and go the other way when we start questions or any other round. And so our first candidate, Matt Caldy, welcome, and your time begins now.
So did you start talking?
All right. If you knocked doors in this past year, then you probably heard a lot of community concern. People are worried about the cost of housing, a lack of housing choices, and about increases in taxes. Some residents said that they don't know how they're supposed to get by on a fixed income if costs continue to rise. A few people, clearly frustrated with the cost of living situation, expressed that they were probably going to move away from the area soon. One resident even said she bought a house because she couldn't afford to keep renting with the way prices were trending. It is painfully obvious that our county has an affordability problem. When my wife and I bought our home in the Sunny Slopes neighborhood, we were lucky. The Bloomington area was already an expensive place to live, and at the time, it would have been nearly impossible to predict that housing prices and interest rates were about to explode. Not everyone has been as lucky as we were. Recent studies show that more than half of Monroe County households are cost-burdened, many severely cost-burdened, paying over half of their income on housing costs. This type of widespread precarity is tragic to see in a community that has so many good things going for it. One of the central goals of our Democratic Party is to ensure that everyone has a chance at economic security. And collectively, we need to find a way to ease the burdens our residents carry. Our party has a lot to learn and a lot of room to grow. When I was out having conversations with residents, people loved that I had a blue-collar background. Many seemed to be drawn to the idea of having people who had personally experienced adversity within this community help to shape the county's fiscal priorities. They understood the value that might bring and appreciated my emphasis on affordability issues. And now it'll take all of us to make our community more affordable. County government, city government, and additional stakeholders must all dedicate themselves to the cause. No one person, nor any single decision made by County Council can solve our affordability crisis, but I will relentlessly focus on opportunities to move the needle. Thank you.
Next, Richie Carter.
Okay, so I didn't prepare an opening statement because I didn't know what the rules were going to be. So I'm just going to default back to the email information that you guys have been given by Chairman David Henry. So in interest of time, we'll just go with that.
Thank you. Rob Council.
All right. Good afternoon. This community stands at an exciting crossroads, full of potential and ready for growth. I'm honored to announce my candidacy for County Council, a decision born from my deep commitment to Monroe County's future. Together, we can build a community where every resident can thrive, prosper, and feel supported by a strong, resilient county. Monroe County has evolved into a place that's cherished by its residents, but even greater possibilities lie ahead. With challenges come opportunities, and addressing them head-on is essential. My years of experience in the city's Housing and Neighborhood Development Department have deepened my understanding of local government. I've seen firsthand how housing policies and programs, when aligned with community needs, can create real and lasting change. These experiences will serve as the foundation for my leadership and advocacy on the County Council. The expansion of the Convention Center is an exciting opportunity for Monroe County. This project promises to attract new events, conferences, and business opportunities, boosting local businesses and creating jobs. It demonstrates what is possible when we prioritize growth and community needs. This is the kind of forward-thinking investment that strengthens Monroe County as a vibrant destination for residents and visitors alike. In contrast, the proposed development of the new county jail raises serious concerns. While addressing overcrowding and improving conditions is important, the process has been marked by hostility towards those involved in the justice system, particularly those being pushed out of the downtown area. Promises of rehabilitation and fairness sound good, but trust is difficult to build in the face of such divisive actions. A true commitment to public safety requires collaboration and a focus on addressing root causes, not simply relocating problems out of sight. Homelessness remains one of our county's most urgent challenges and demands comprehensive solutions. These include funding for mental health services, addiction recovery, job training, and affordable housing. By working together, we can help individuals rebuild their lives and rejoin our community. Our seniors also deserve dedicated support. Ensuring access to healthcare, transportation, and social activities will promote active aging and honor their contributions to our community. Their well-being and dignity must remain a priority. While the county doesn't run the schools, we can play an important role in supporting education. By advocating for appropriate funding and addressing barriers to learning, such as affordable housing, mental health services, and safe transportation, we can ensure Monroe County students have the resources they need to succeed. A special acknowledgement must be made for Cheryl Munson, whose passion and service to Monroe County has left a lasting legacy. Cheryl's work reminds us of the power of commitment to improving lives, to building a stronger community, and to staying true to our shared values. Monroe County's future depends on collaboration and collective action, whether it's improving infrastructure, supporting businesses, tackling homelessness, or providing resources for schools and seniors. Our work must be guided to a commitment to service, a commitment to representation, and a commitment to progress. These values are what we must embrace to ensure Monroe County continues to be a source of pride for all who call it home. Today, we honor Cheryl's legacy by recommitting ourselves to the future of Monroe County. You too have an important decision to make about this county's leadership, but let me be clear. Service, representation, and progress don't happen with just one decision. Achieving our shared goals will require that we remain committed, not just to those goals, but to one another. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Davis, and it's an honor to be up here amongst all of you and my fellow candidates. Thank you so much for the organizers of this caucus for bringing us all together for this very important event. And as well, I would like to say a word of gratitude to my friend Cheryl Munson, who I've known for a very, very long time and who was always a people-centered political person of service here in our community. And whoever ends up filling her now vacant seat should keep her interest and her people-centeredness always at the fore. The reason I am running for this position is because over the last 2 years, almost 3 years, I have been running actively for local office. I've spoken with thousands of people. They have told me that local government is without voice of the everyday person. They don't feel like they've been listened to. They have needs for stability. They need affordable housing. They need health care. They need affordable, high-quality food. They need opportunity to make each day better for themselves, such that they can even entertain the thought of making life better for those who are around them. It is with this in mind that I will focus the people's needs before all others. The people are the reason that our government was formed in the first place, to satisfy the needs of those same people. Our elected officials are elected by the people to serve those same needs that the people have. And these are obviously people from all walks, but those with the least among us need the most consideration and attention. Those of us who are here today are without a doubt in stronger positions when it comes to survival and meeting our own needs, as opposed to those who have fewer resources in our community. With this, it's important that we address some very, very large expenses that are planned to come our way, paid for with the people's money, the people's tax dollars. Some of these items are going to utilize county properties owned by the people. We need to responsibly use the people's property and the people's money to do what is best for the people. If it's good for the people, it will be good for the economy. If it's good for the people, it will be good for the county. If it's good for the people, it will bestow more good things and more participation from the everyday citizen, which is what we all need to address and empower and bring more individuals into our civic leadership.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. Liz Feidel. Oh, sorry.
So, here we are today. My name is Liz Feidel, and we're here to see which of the 8 County Council at Large candidates will win enough votes in today's precinct caucus to have the opportunity to serve and impact Monroe County for nearly 4 years. All the while honoring Cheryl Munson, who the voters of Monroe County elected in November. I am asking you for your vote so that I can do just that. First of all, I want to thank all the precinct chairs and vice chairs here today who are taking their responsibility of filling this vacancy seriously by casting their respective votes. It has been my pleasure to actively listen to and serve Monroe County in some type of leadership capacity for over 30 years. As you know from my candidate statements, conversations, or any other type of communication we've had, I've demonstrated a long-time passion for serving. I won't go into everything here in just a few minutes, but I would be more than willing to answer any questions anyone may have as the caucus plays out today. Serving and advocating just comes naturally for me. I grew up in a home where my father was disabled, and in my experience, those advocacy and serving skills are ingrained early. Now I need your vote so that I can continue to serve Monroe County, helping it make good decisions while gathering all the necessary data relevant to make those decisions, plus asking questions along the way. And I like to ask questions. I find that questions help to clarify the intent of a particular issue so that it can be better understood and implemented. As the County Council goes about doing its business, there will continue to be issues it must review and make decisions that will have an impact on this community now and in the future. Some of those issues are, we must come to terms with exactly how the jail will be built, design, size for inmates, and other services deemed essential to best carry out the tasks necessary to conduct its mission properly. The location has been determined, and now it's time to continue the project. We should study, evaluate, and make recommendations and implement strategies as to why the working age population is declining, as I understand it, the first time in this community's history. We need to make available more affordable housing, working with developers, builders, and government to ensure the area can serve its population with housing needs. This would go a long way to help local businesses attract and retain employees for their respective workforces. The convention center expansion will continue to bring in more organizations and groups to locate here to experience Monroe County and all it has to offer its visitors. We've been informed for years that the demand is there and the center will need our continued support. Tourism continues to draw numerous visitors to our community. We have a lot to offer: good quality of life, numerous local parks, and 3 state parks within an hour, highly rated, and a variety of education choices from birth to retirement. Huge variety of restaurants for a community of our size, numerous arts and entertainment organizations which offer something for everyone. Continued support for visitors coming to our community has the opportunity to influence where people choose to live. Our award-winning public library has continued to grow well past the downtown space over the years. Ellisville and the Southwest Branch are the latest expansions to benefit and serve our community of all ages. The county plays and needs to continue to play a role. The watershed of Monroe Lake will need continued monitoring to assure a constant water supply for our area. As you know, there are always a lot of decisions to make for our community and its future, and I am seeking your vote to be a part of making those decisions. I'm retired and can allocate the time necessary to do the work. I'm known for actively listening and seeking input. I call Monroe County my home for more than 47 years, an easy place to be. I want to be able to provide the same community for my family who lives here along with everyone else. It would be my pleasure to continue serving Monroe County, and your vote will help me ensure that. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Gunther, and I apologize for the misspelling of your last name. There's an E in there somewhere.
Hear me?
There you go.
There we go. My name's Andrew Gunther, a name some of you may recognize from my past or present public service, my public comments at various government meetings over the years, or my op-eds in the Herald Times. I want to tell you some things that make me different from some of the other folks up here on this dais and why I believe I would serve you best on the County Council. First, I represent a new balanced viewpoint and perspectives that are missing on the current County Council. I come to you all as the intersection of different identities, lived experiences, and stations in life that are missing in representation on the County Council. I'm someone in their 30s who came to Monroe County over a decade ago from a union household and family farm in unincorporated Porter County, Indiana, and have lived here in Bloomington ever since. I've lived here as a renter for the entirety of my time in Monroe County, and I believe would be the only member of the current County Council to rent in a community where 40% of the population is comprised of renters. And I think I would, if elected, also be the only openly LGBT member of the current county council. Second, I have the skills, education, and experience necessary to serve well on the council. While many of you may see me as the youngest candidate up here on the dais, which I am also much more than just a young face. Over the years, I have gathered the skills, education, and experience necessary in local governance through my public service on boards and commissions and my education at the IU Maurer School of Law and the O'Neill School of Public and Environmental Affairs. I am good at the math and art of local government finance and budgeting, as well as reading the laws and policies applicable to the same. And I will use those skills to hit the ground running as your county council member. While I will always be the first to admit that I do not know everything, nobody does, I do have the passion, drive, and energy to learn and grow into this position quickly. In terms of public service, if you add up all the time I have served on local boards and commissions together, I have officially served our community for over 10 years this month. And on all those boards, I have held leadership positions. I also believe I'm one of the only, if not the only candidate on this dais to be appointed to both city and county commissions, as well as to be appointed to commissions by both the county commissioners and the county council. Next, I'm called to public service by a genuine desire to better this community. I have a true love for Monroe County, which is why I've chosen to remain here all this time and have also chosen to serve it as actively as I have. This is not a stepping stone position for me. I'm called to offer myself for this role because I know there is always important work to be done for the safety, security, and prosperity of our county and its residents. I will be a rubber stamp for nothing and nobody, but my ears are open to all. I also have not appeared on this caucus lineup out of nowhere. I have been active in our community for the entirety of the time I have lived here, and I do not vanish between office vacancies. I am here to stay and to work, regardless of the role in which I am serving. Additionally, despite bringing a new perspective to the county council, I also represent many of the same values held by Cheryl Munson. I've spent a lot of time over the past month reading and listening to stories about Cheryl, including her campaigns and her public service. One interview with Cheryl on a local podcast explored her history of service and causes, and I was struck by her passion for public safety, our local environment, and the fiscal health of our county government. On these issues and many others, such as the county jail and convention center, Cheryl and I largely agreed. My service will honor Cheryl's and will fulfill the electoral will that re-elected her to her position in November. I want to thank you all for your service here today. I know it's a cold one to come out here. I believe I'm your best choice for county council today because I provide a balanced, proven track record of service, have deep connections and love for this community, and wake up every day eager to learn and serve. I will bring this passion and drive to the county council and will serve each and every one of you actively each and every day. Thank you for your consideration and time.
Thank you. Scott Shackelford.
Well, good afternoon, all. It's an honor and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I wish, of course, it could be under better circumstances. Cheryl Munson's legacy in our community is profound. It's up to us to honor her quarter century of service. This is her seat. I also want to say up front how much I enjoy getting the opportunity to speak with so many of you, outstanding community leaders throughout this process. It really underscored for me that there's simply no better place to live. It was always a pleasure as well to binge by way of prep Steve's fantastic 812 podcast. So thank you, Steve. That was a real treat. I learned a lot. As you know, I'm Scott Shackelford. I'm a cybersecurity nerd. Sorry. I'm an attorney. Sorry again. I feel like 3 strikes and you're out, so I'll just stop there. I'm also a husband, father of 3 amazing girls, and have lived here the majority of my life. I moved to Bloomington as a kid in the 90s with my mom. I remember where Morgan Stearns used to be back in the day, new and improved, which is great. I went to IU for undergrad. I worked at the Area 10 Agency on Aging and Rural Transit, which was my introduction to the important role that nonprofits play in our community and the impacts that they have and, frankly, the challenges they face. After graduating from IU, I went to way too much school. I got a master's and a PhD studying sustainable development and also a law degree at Stanford on a national security fellowship, which allowed me to work at NASA, but also the UN Development Program in New Delhi doing access to justice work, which is what attracted me to the candidacy of Barack Obama. And that was my introduction to local politics and national politics as well, canvassing and caucusing in Nevada for that campaign. I got tired pretty quick of measuring my life in 6-minute increments in billing and legal practice. So my wife and I became bloomerangs. We moved back. I've been on the faculty here at IU for the last 15 years in the Business Law and Ethics Department. Done a lot of cool work over the years, and I feel very thankful for that in the community, on the Hoosier Hills Board of Directors for more than a decade, the Bloomington Environmental Commission with Matt. And I've had the opportunity to create a few things at IU, like our cybersecurity program. And these days I run the Ostrom Workshop and the Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research. I don't have time now to go through either of those, but Ostrom Workshop is known for its work on good governance. It's a Nobel Prize winning research center founded by Lynn Ostrom, who is a local heroine and should be even better known, frankly. And I'd love to be able to be the conduit to apply lessons that we do around policing, community service, and environmental stewardship to the council and to our county. It was the Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, though, that was my wake-up call, that it was time to get more active locally. The cyber attacks that we saw on Monroe County this last summer were costly, they were debilitating, and they could easily happen again and be far worse next time around if we're not careful. I've helped a lot of communities up and down the state and beyond through our cybersecurity clinic that I founded in 2020 and is now ably directed by Isak Asari, as well as our Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, which does hundreds of cybersecurity assessments. I'm worried about the resilience of our infrastructure from cyber risks, natural disasters, and frankly, even wildfires. My gosh, right? Not to mention snowfalls and extreme cold. That gets me to my priorities, including those that are frankly very much in line with Cheryl's. Infrastructure resilience, first and foremost. I think that's really important, including as we think about these major new investments in the Justice Center, not just a jail, but potentially the whole campus, right? As well as the Convention Center. Diversifying funding for sustainable development, I think, is also going to be really important in this time of austerity at the state level and soon to be at the federal level. I think it's past time we have an embedded grants officer and development officer here in the county that can identify new funding opportunities for us. We've had a lot of success in partnering, and I think we can do a lot more with the city, with nonprofits, with Ivy Tech and IU. At that workshop, for example, our grants have gone up 16-fold since we hired an embedded grants officer. So I think that could be a really important step forward for us. And I think, frankly, as we've heard, we need deeper cooperation and collaboration between the county and the city on a whole range of different issues, right? Public health and safety, sure. I like the CIB process and what that's done for the Convention Center. I'd like to see more of those types of forums, including for the Justice Center. I think that could really help and feed into a revised Monroe County Sustainable Development Master Plan that not only looks at where we should be putting new developments, but how are we going to get the vital services to them
Time is
and what
up,
happens
sorry.
when they go down. Thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't hear the jingles. My bad.
It wasn't going on.
Can you guys hear me okay if I talk at this level? Everyone okay? All right? Okay. Awesome. Thank you. My name is Alana Stonebreaker, and I'm seeking the at-large seat vacated by Cheryl Munson's passing. Today, I'd like to share why I'm uniquely qualified and ready to serve in this role. My goal is to show you that I bring the training, expertise, and experience necessary to hit the ground running from day one. I previously served on the Tippecanoe County Council representing District 1 Lafayette. That was a historic election, as that district had never elected a Democrat, and the last Democrat on that county council had been 24 years before. The day after I won that election, I could have stayed home and rested, but instead the first thing I did is I went on a tour of the county jail. It was probably the scariest, saddest thing I've ever seen. It grounded me in the realities of the work ahead and deepened my commitment to public service. I met with department heads, Department of Health, prosecutor, IT, coroner, etc. I was invited by the judges to attend several courts to see their work. I spent months educating myself so that when I started on January 1, after my November election, I could jump in immediately. Once on county council, I prioritized transparency and community education, worked with data analysts at Purdue to build an interactive version of the county budget, which was then helpful to our local Black Lives Matter chapter, who used the budget after I left to make line item by line item suggestions to the sheriff. Before the county council meetings, I recorded agenda walkthroughs and posted those for the community, showing what was happening and how you can follow along, discussing open questions and the impact of different items. Many of these sessions had several hundred views. Why am I telling you this? Because county council is a slog. If you look at any of the last 10 meetings, you'll see the packet is usually over 400 pages. County Council is a fiscal body of the county. Unlike the City Council, County Council only speaks money, meaning its focus is on the fiscal elements of government and their impacts. People who are serving on County Council need to be well-versed in circuit breaker credits, tax increment financing, and bond issuances. Normally, training would be available for new County Council members from the Association of Indiana Counties. These trainings happen in December of every year. That means if a person was elected today, they would go a full year without formal training. And the County Council has lost 2 of its most senior members. What the County Council needs now is someone who can jump in without missing a beat. I followed the County Council work for 5 years while I've lived here, and through my work became friends with many of its members. As part of my work on the Monroe County Vote Center Committee, I've met with Trent Deckard about county finances. I've met with Jeff McKim to talk about fines and fees and their impacts on social justice. Kate Wiltz and I actually went through the Indiana Association of Counties training together. David Henry has actually asked me to run for office 4 times now, twice for County Council. Peter Iverson and I actually served together on the Beacon Fundraising Board for 3 years, raising money for an important housing solution in our city. And newly elected County Council President Jennifer Crossley is a friend and has graciously served on my County Caucus team, texting and calling many of you on my behalf. I know and work well with this team. In closing, why am I here? Many of you people will say they always imagine themselves in politics. I never did. I woke up the day after Trump was elected in 2016 determined to act. As a finance librarian and a former County Council member, I have a skill set I think can help people. I would like to thank everyone who came here today and learned something new about county government. County Council is a hard job. I've tried today to tell you why I want to do that hard work and what I bring to it. Thank you all for being here today and giving your time and considering my candidacy. I look forward to earning your support.
That concludes the opening statement round. And now we will move into a 60-minute period of Q&A. Matt is keeping the 60-minute clock. Ashley will help with the 2 minutes. Each candidate is afforded to answer your questions. We do have the podium mic'd up, and if possible, would prefer that you go there in order to pose those questions. We can form a line if need be. Please make sure that you are keeping your questions to questions and not statements or dilatory without appeal is what the language is. They will be gavelled down if they're non-questions. With that, yes, Secretary?
Just so the candidates know, it'll be 1:30, the first bell, and then the second bell is your time, okay?
Thank you so much for doing that. Yes, Councilmember Piedmont Smith, please proceed. And we'll begin.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you all for engaging in this Q&A and putting your names forward for this seat. My question is, will you push for significant investment in prevention efforts such as mental health care and substance use disorder treatment prior to approving funding to build a new jail?
And we will start this time with candidate Stonebreaker and go that way this time. You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Well, first of all, thank you for that. My first thought when you asked that question is something that came up when I met with Erica Oliphant, our prosecutor, which is that there are connections between recovery and our jail population, but that is not all the connections in terms of it. So I think tying money from one thing to another thing is not how I want to do. I see it more as yes, and not a yes, and. I do think that prevention efforts are really super important. I do think that some of our work on the Sophia Travis also does this sort of work. I think before I would commit money to that, I would definitely want to make sure that we benchmarked how we're dealing with that problem and making sure that we're reaching out and making connections, perhaps to look at the problem in many different ways. We have a lot of very smart people in this community, and I think that looking at the problem from a lot of different angles is really how we're going to work with prevention versus just thinking about how we can spend more money on something. Thank you.
Thanks very much for the question. I think frankly, we have an incarceration almost an epidemic in this country, right? 1% of the adult population is in jail, 20% on nonviolent drug offenses. So I completely understand where the spirit of that question comes from, and I think it's a vital one. I do think we need to do a lot more locally as part of this justice center, not just the jail, but a center to support all of these services that are going to get folks the help they need on substance abuse, on the opioid crisis, but also the full range of other issues that lead folks, unfortunately, to make some poor decisions and wind up in that situation. I think tying funding, I share that same sentiment, is a bit tight. I think that we need more information, frankly, about the types of services and where they should be located before saying upfront that we just won't approve funding, because this is the current jail, as has been mentioned already, is in an absolutely terrible situation. So we need to move, but we need to move earnestly and with a lot of forethought and thinking through where we're going to put these other vital services, if they're going to be part of that existing news center outside of town, or if they're going to be co-located here in the city where folks might benefit from it that much more quickly.
I do believe that it is important we get this county jail and justice center correct the first time. Through my conversations with county leaders, including members of the sheriff's department, it's become abundantly clear that this county jail isn't for us, it's for future generations. And that it is important we get it right the first time, because if we don't, it becomes incredibly more difficult to fix it in the future. That being said, if I had a proposal in front of me that tied that funding together in a way that made sense on paper and didn't affect the financial stability of the project, I would support that. I don't see it necessarily as tying funding together, but the county council using its fiscal authority to advocate for policies it believes are in the best interest of our community. And I do believe that preventing people from entering the justice system in the first place is important, as well as helping those already involved in the justice system get the help they need to get out. I think it is a both and question, not one or the other question. And I think as a community, we need to commit to doing both for the sake of the future generations that will use this jail. Thank you.
So I believe that there are programs in place already for different things to help people through the justice system. And so I would really like to do a comprehensive study of what we have and figure out what we're missing. What the heck are we missing? What can we do better? What can we do new? And then look at the funding available. Maybe, there was talk somewhere about grants. Maybe we can get a grant for something. I don't know what the possibilities are. But we have to figure out how to solve the problems. And I like to solve problems.
This is a very important question. There's an expression that I'm going to use, which I've modified a little bit. A service in time saves 9. If we prevent individuals from going into the justice system in the first place, then we save ourselves tremendous amounts of taxpayer money. We can do this and still keep the Justice Campus facility here in the downtown of Bloomington, where it serves all, where the services available to help those people who need support are available. I'd like to acknowledge Charlotte Zitlow, who is here and who is the namesake for our current Justice Campus. And it was with her hard work that we were able to have a building that has lasted for 40 years. Now, this building has outlived its usefulness as a jail, but it still is a useful building. We can relocate the jail, still downtown, and we can keep all the court services that are important and the other services at hand, especially the families that support those individuals that get into our system. If all these things are maintained downtown where they have been ever since our county was founded, then we can ensure that the most responsible use of our taxpayer dollars will be utilized. This is a win-win-win. It's a service in time that will save 9 from the get-go. Those who have the least among us need the most consideration and attention. And with that, they will feel empowered. They will feel cared for. They will feel like this community wants them around. It does no good to send folks outside of our community
Time is up.
to receive these services. Thank you.
Thank you.
To Councilmember Piedmont Smith's question, I believe that a little bit of prevention is worth a ton of cure. I would like to see funding directed towards prevention in the first place. I have worked hand in hand with IRA, Indiana Recovery Alliance, here in Bloomington. They are doing really big things on a very shoestring budget, and I think just a little bit more would really help them spread their work and address more issues and support more community members. So yes, I am for funding. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think going and tying funding to it without knowing all the details would not be beneficial at this time. And I don't know enough about all the programs that are in place, but I think it's worth exploring to like at least maybe see what's working, what's not working, see what grants are available, find other resource avenues to explore. All I have.
Thank you.
All right, first I'd like to say that I have no desire to slow down the jail process as it is, which I fear tying other funding to that would do. I would prefer to look at things independently. That being said, mental health care and addiction treatment are both important issues to the community and are often only brought up in the context of incarceration. I would like to see plenty of attention given to those issues, even independently from that issue, within the community, but also within the jail. So yes, I support those services, but I would prefer to keep that separate from jail funding issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it okay if we allow Charlotte to pose her question from here? And then you're next. Thank you.
Charlotte, you're going right now.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes, I am concerned about the justice billing. And of course, and everything you've got to do. And what I haven't heard from most of you is the fact that working on the county council is limited in a sense. As Don Wagner told me, they live by the golden rule. Those who have the gold, it does the ruling. And that means you've got to work with the county commissioners in a cooperative fashion. And he is really right, even though that was shocking. So that's one question. How have you thought about that? And the second thing, just speaking about the jail issue, which of course I've given years and years and years of attention to, when we have gone through several phases of really talking seriously about reconstructive justice, not just, because right now we have a record of putting people in jail for a week or two, letting them go out a little bit, and then they come back again, because their issues are not just major crimes, but problems of health care, mental health care, or mental health care, and other personal problems. I think there are places in this world that really focus on trying to solve the problem of why people are in the jail and how do they get not only in and out, but get taken care of and turn into productive people. That's a difficult question, and it takes a lot of focus and hard work. And I don't see a lot of that being done now. And so we're not going to get any place until the county council and the county commissioners and the city and everybody else around here focus on trying to solve that issue. So that's a big question. That's a huge question. what are you prepared to do about those things?
Thank you, Ms. Itlow. And we'll start with Mr. Caldy and go this way. Question on restorative justice and working well with the commissioners.
It is important to note what exactly the council does versus what certain other bodies do. So a lot of things that I was asked about throughout my campaign in the spring were often questions that would apply more to commissioners than to council members. However, I'm excited to work with everyone involved. I'm excited to work with the commissioners, who I already have a good rapport with those that I've met. I'm excited to work with the sheriff's department, prosecutor, clerk, everybody involved in any of the processes. Excuse me. This isn't something that anyone can do alone. It takes a village, and quite frankly, while a lot of the decisions will be made by others, since the council holds the purse strings, I would hope to be involved in as many of those conversations as possible. The question you phrased about solving incarceration, I don't know, that might be above all of our pay grades, but I hope that there are actions we can take and projects we can fund that helps keep people out of the facility in the first place. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, as far as working with the county commissioners and the other departments that would be involved in the Justice Center, that's a given that you have to kind of work hand in hand with each other and hopefully be on the same page and accomplish the goals that's best for all the citizens in the county and for all the employees that will be working in that Justice Center. And as far as, what was the second part of the question?
Restorative justice is how I would summarize it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about that, so I would have to do some educating in myself and like look in other counties and facilities, and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, just take something that's working someplace else and try to implement that here.
Thank you.
All right. As far as cooperation goes, every great goal, every great success that we've seen as a country and as a county comes with collaboration, and that is key in everything. So yes, I'll be working with the commissioners. Yes, I'll be listening. Yes, I'll be walking around and talking to everybody on the streets. That's a given. As far as restorative justice goes, back to what I said earlier, a little bit of prevention goes a long way. So if we work with the folks that we already have in our community addressing these issues, if we support them and throw a little bit of money their way, they can turn something into a big, it'll be much bigger and much better if we could support those programs that we do currently have.
This is a very important question. It's important because so much of our funding, so much of our local morale comes from the fact that we see people who are not receiving a fair shake, not receiving their own justice. We as a community can improve upon this. We as council people can improve upon this by working as closely as possible with our commissioners, with the Board of Commissioners, to address the right size solution that we can walk down together and employ and adjust and improve. But that means a dialogue must take place. When it comes to restorative justice, the individuals who need the restoration are not the only ones. The community needs the restoration too. When folks get into the system, if they feel like they're a part of a caring community, and likewise, when the community feels like they care for those who need some attention, some brotherly love, then we can improve the situation altogether. More care means less incarceration, means fewer beds in jails. Diversion is very important from getting people stuck in this very expensive justice system. We can do it together. We can learn together. We can improve together, and everyone will benefit, especially those who need the most consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
So working together has been a long time part of how I behave in somewhat of a community and leadership role. And I would be in favor of working together with the city, the county, whoever else we need to bring into the conversations about all this. It's going to take a village, as they might say, because it is a village problem. We have a problem with people who need help and they need to stay out of the jail. How are we going to keep them out of the jail? What programs do we need where they can benefit and remain out of the jail? Are we missing something? I know we do some, but is it enough? What can be done? I think good, big time, healthy conversation with a lot of players is what we need to go on and to help those who need the help.
So I agree. Collaboration is key to this entire process. And I think anyone who has paid attention to the process the county jail has been going under for several years now, and likely before, is that there seems to at times be a lack of cooperation between different governmental bodies in our community. The justice system and restorative justice are an all hands on deck situation. It does involve everyone working together to address those causes in a cohesive way, the causes of incarceration in a cohesive way. That includes the city, the county, township governments, everyone, all hands on deck working together. I also think the county council should engage with these other bodies to formulate plans and ideas to help achieve these goals. Fiscal decisions are policy. How you spend money, where you don't spend money, that is where policy is born at the county level oftentimes. People like to pretend that money and the policy are separate, but they are really linked in a way that cannot be separated. And in terms of restorative justice, I believe restorative justice does have two overarching areas. First is making sure that people don't end up in the justice system to begin with, making sure that we are taking preventative measures from a housing perspective, an educational perspective, income, jobs, that sort of thing, to help give these people who are at risk of falling into the justice system the best chance they have to not do so. And I also believe that part of restorative justice is ensuring that when someone does end up in the justice system, that they are taken care of compassionately, they're taken care of humanely, and they have overall the best experience you can have through the criminal justice system. And I think we need to prioritize that as a community going forward. Thank you.
You.
We already did that.
Thank you so much for the question, Charlotte. As always, it's right on point. I think these multi-stakeholder collaboration that we're talking about, that's part and parcel of making progress on any of these issues, right? That's why I mentioned the CIB process up front. I think conversations are great, but those formal convenings can really help move the needle if you establish metrics, near-term goals on things like criminal justice, right? I'm an expert on multi-stakeholder governance. That's what we do day in and day out at the Ostrom Workshop, and that communication and coordination is just vital. I do think, as has been mentioned, diversifying funding is a really important piece of that. We can work together on that between the county and the city, and frankly, even with Ivy Tech and IU. We just did a new digital equities grant with Rick Dietz and his team that looks like it was just awarded for $11.5 million. There's money out there if we can find it, right? I myself was really involved in the street law program in the Bay Area. So I worked with inmates, toured San Quentin, but we also studied other real hotspots for restorative justice around the world, including Norway, right? So I know where you're coming from, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned from those contexts. And lastly, I'll just mention, when we think about the Justice Center, the modular design, I think, aspect is important to underscore. It's more expensive up front, but down the road that can really pay dividends and allow us to dovetail if we need to get more beds, fewer beds, but also other services that we can add on as the funding is there. So in terms of planning for the long term, I think that's also really vital.
Thank you.
So I really appreciate Charlotte's question because I also want to, and I really appreciate what Scott just said about the power to convene. And the power to convene is one of the biggest powers. Since we hold everybody's salaries at bay, we do have a certain amount of soft power. So here are the groups that I might convene to help with those problems. The sheriff is an obvious choice. The opioid settlement work group, the problem-solving courts. We have an incredible problem-solving court system here, and I think that there's some really awesome opportunities there, as well as the Community Corrections Advisory Board would be another group. I like to say that I like to always imagine that I'm not the smartest person in the room, but it's my job to find the smartest person in the room. So trying to really ask questions and really figure out what do people know, how can they help us really understand this problem. Convening, I think, is a really powerful element of it, and that is something that I think the county council can do, and the county council, since it holds so much of everyone's budget at play, is something that they can do to really think about what are we doing in restorative justice and what is the next step. And before I go any further, I also just want to call out, since no one else talked about it, I want to talk about our juvenile justice system too for restorative justice, right? I think our juvenile system is really one of those areas that I think it's very important to be thinking about restorative justice and thinking about whole problems and holistically. Finally, in terms of working with the commissioners, I know some of the commissioners already, but I also want to say that in my previous role on the Tippecanoe County Council, I worked entirely with people who were Republicans who had very different value sets than my own, and I still definitely always move from a place of mutual respect and collegiality, and I really try as I do to do these things to really try and imagine things from other people's perspectives, and that's something I've really tried to do also as I'm on the Monroe County Vote Center Committee, which is a bipartisan committee that works together to try and find solutions that will work for both Democrats and Republicans. I'm not saying, that's not to say that it would be such large changes that.
10 seconds.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, thank you very much.
The phone sometimes is loud, and other times it's like, barely hear it.
Yeah,
Thank you for that first round.
We left my phone, so we could fix that problem. Here we are again.
We'll work on that and try to give you hand signals if that fails. For the next question from Kathy Smith, we're going to start with Scott, and then Ilana, you'll go last on this one. And then next round, it'll snake that way with Richie starting. Go ahead, Treasurer Smith.
First of all, thank you very, very much for caring enough about our county to sit up there and subject yourself to this kind of grilling. It's very difficult, I understand that, but also very, very important. And this begins my 21st year of working for Monroe County government and leadership in the treasurer's office or the auditor's office. So I've seen a lot of bill paying and human resource paying and just revenues and just making sure that everything gets done in a timely manner and done correctly. And I've been through hard times with this county, and I've been through times where we were, flush, had extra money. So my question is very direct, so please excuse that, and please answer it and do not evade this question. So my question is, what 3 departments are you most interested in working with and have a heart for?
Scott first.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful question. And as you say, the role of the council here and the role of our fiscal mandate and the responsibility to be a fiduciary for the taxpayers' money is really front and center, absolutely, for how I view these issues as well. For what it's worth, as I mentioned, I run a lot of stuff. Right now I have a staff of more than 20 people and a budget of more than 15 million and work a lot with HR issues, including reclassification, lots of headaches associated with that. So I see where you're coming from, and it's never fun, but it's an important work and nothing else gets done. So I'm with you there. In terms of the departments, my priorities, frankly, are very much in line with Cheryl's, which is why when I first saw this, frankly, it really spoke to me. That is, first and foremost, public safety, the conversation that we've been talking about. So that includes, of course, the Justice Center, criminal justice, juvenile justice more broadly, but that's only a piece of it, making sure that we're not engaging in a tit-for-tat salary war between the county and the city. I'd love to see more coordination on that front as well, so that when we do get raises, they're done in a coordinated fashion and we're not just just kind of, for example, trading personnel back and forth. So I think there's some opportunities there in terms of fiscal responsibility and also getting people paid what they're worth, frankly, right? Public health, I think we can do a lot more between the county, as was spoken about, and the city, with the new regional academic center at IU on the health side, which hasn't exactly gotten rave reviews, to put it mildly. I, for one, prefer the Monroe County Hospital. So I would like to have a lot more dialogue and focus on that issue as we think about especially the needs of our rural residents as well, right? And then lastly, frankly, I started off before technology stuff just doing environmental issues. I taught environmental law. I was in the environmental law clinic back in the day. So working with the county on those issues around Monroe County, its watershed, protecting that natural environment, which is our resource and a lot of reason that folks move to Monroe County to begin with. I want to make sure that's protected for future generations.
So my three are first, the Sheriff's Department. I want to make sure we get the jail correct the first time. No one wants to go through this process again in 10, 15 years. We want to make sure we get it right now. And I believe that as the department that runs the jail, the Sheriff's Department is a logical first step in making sure that's done correctly. Of course, I would obviously like to include other departments in that, but I'm limited to three. Next is public health. I do believe public health is very crucial for our community. I think it builds into what I want to do regarding public safety. Public safety to me is not just police and fire and EMS, but it's also public health. Being able to respond to emergencies, biohazards, that sort of thing. I also want to address why the Futures Clinic closed. That was a great resource for our community, and I really like to explore the reasonings behind that closure and if there's any possible way to bring it back for the sake of our community. And then the planning department. I think the planning department is very important, both for economic development purposes. I'd really like to see increased economic development in some areas like the I-69 corridor, which I worked on when I worked with the Chamber of Commerce here locally. And it's also important for sustainability reasons. How we build, where we build, why we build, what we build are all very important, crucial questions, both for the environmental protections in our community, like Lake Monroe, the watershed, but also making sure those developments last. I don't want to be building things that in 10, 15 years we have to tear down because they're being flooded because of climate change or because there's some issue with karst developments, for example. I want to make sure that everything we do in this county we get right the first time as much as we possibly can. And I think that working with these three departments, we can get a lot of big ticket items done sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
Okay, so based on my experience and history of working in the community around here, I think my labor background would be very useful in human resources. I can see that being a voice that maybe others haven't had experience in as much. I served as a president of a local union, a staff rep for a local union, and represented folks on the job specifically on a daily basis for almost 10 years. And then I was an advocate for them when I was the AFL-CIO Community Services Liaison for over 20 years. So I have a long history of working with folks on the job and what their needs are and advocating for them. I think I could work with HR to do that. I also think that I'm interested in the clerk and the election process. I was the League of Women Voters Voter Service Chair for nearly 10 years and enjoyed that work immensely. And I think that anything that I could lend to that office in my experience or advocacy work could help there. The third thing I think would be, and these aren't in any order, the third thing I think I might be useful on is working with the Sheriff's Office and whoever else on the jail. I think we have, like has been mentioned, I do think we have to get it right, and it's important to play that out and make sure that it happens in the way that it's needed for the long term.
The three most important departments that I wish to focus my energies and collaborate with, first off would be the Justice Center, the Sheriff's Department, the courts. This is so important. The Sheriff's Department needs to be listened to. The courts are overwhelmed. They need to be listened to. They need to have opportunities, new tools to help deal with many of the burdens that we have before us. Another burden is the lack of community health. We need to make sure that everyone is holding the best, highest health that they can maintain. Because with that, there'll be one less thing for them to have to think about. We can make this raise the level and raise all boats if we improve just one person's existence. Being able to protect what we have is another department that needs to be fully functioned. We need to protect our land, protect our water. We need to make sure that this precious resource that we hold is preserved for today, tomorrow, and it is used responsibly. Inside of that, that means that if we have already committed ourselves to taking care of buildings that we have created and we own, we need to do an adequate job of protecting those, maintaining those, and getting the most out of those individual buildings. If we need to sell some of our properties, then maybe we should do so. But we should not be just gathering land to acquire land. Thank you.
Everybody, my big three would be, first, the biggest issue that we are all facing right now is housing. So let's work with the planning department, let's steer things, open up some avenues and build some houses for these folks that need houses and affordable houses. Secondly, let's address the root causes of some of our issues that are filling our jail, and that's with the health department. We can steer some funding towards taking care of folks before they end up in the justice system. And third for me would be working with the sheriff's department and the justice system to ensure we don't have folks not succeeding while they're incarcerated and coming back in the streets and reoffending. We can drop our recidivism levels with support of the sheriff's department and other resources in our community.
So the three departments I would like to work with, one would be emergency management, just for my background as a firefighter and EMT in the county for 15 years and been on the Emergency Management Advisory Council. So that would be one. I'd like to work for the highway department because I think infrastructure is important in the county. And then the third one would be the auditor's office, just because I'd like to learn how the money comes in, how it gets dispersed, and all of that.
Well, thank you for the question. I'll try not to be evasive. There are so many departments that I am interested in how it works, and to be honest, I'm not sure how much of a say we have in which ones we work with when. But I would agree that planning is especially interesting, as I think housing is the first domino to solving so many issues within the community. I know that that's a difficult one, but I think planning is really important because land use is also interesting to me. Infrastructure is very important, so I agree with highway. I'm really not sure. I had very good conversations with soil and water, with the airport, with all the department heads I reached out to. Maybe Parks and Rec holds a special place just for environmental type purposes, but I wish I had an exhaustive list in front of me, and I'm not sure how to identify just three.
That's funny because I have an exhausted list in front of me that I have of the liaison areas, because we will actually have a say in this question because liaison areas are being chosen right now. And of course, as the rookies on there, I'm sure we'll get whatever we get in terms of it. But I also think that I also want to nod and also say, not to evade the question, that liaison areas change every year. So whatever you're interested in now, we do a really great job here in this county of rotating. So in some ways, the areas would be changing every year. That said, one of my big areas that I like to work with is IT. IT is, I think, something that's very important, certainly in terms of the cybersecurity. I think it's called technical services, if the list is correct. That's an area in which I think there's a lot of potential, and also it touches all departments. So I think it's a really great starting area. Another one I'd want to work with is community corrections. The sheriff is something something I worked with in my previous role. But I was really surprised by how much probation and other areas really affect our jail population. And I think it's something that I need to learn more about, and that's something that would be really important to me. And then finally, stormwater management, because, oh man, drainage is like one of the most important things that we do here. I know we don't think about it right now because there's a lot of snow on the ground, but drainage is, I think, the secret most important thing in terms of climate change. And so stormwater management, I think, is an incredibly important department to get to know as a rookie. Thank you.
I'm going to pause the clock on Q&A to just say we probably have time for 2 more quick questions. And so those in line may want to talk and consolidate if possible. Go ahead, Councilmember Zulik.
Thank you. Sydney Zulik, Bloomington City Council, District 6, Field Director for Thomas Horrocks and Campaign Coordinator for the County Party, which means that I handled the campaign field operations for every candidate on the slate in the 2024 election. So this is a values question, and it is, how did you support the 2024 general election field organization plan? And if the answer is that you did not, what did you think was a better use of your time? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, girl. We will now start with Mr. Carter and go this way.
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that because I don't know what the plan was. I mean, I voted. I'm not sure what this question is or how to answer it.
How did you support 2024?
I voted for all the candidates that were on the party. I mean, I didn't give money to them, if that's what you're asking. Like, I talked to them, I listened to them, and picked which ones I thought were the best that aligned with what my beliefs were.
I don't think it's necessary. I think let's just hear from all the candidates. Yes, please.
Besides making hundreds of phone calls, knocking on a handful of doors, I also served as a state delegate this last election cycle, and that was a really eye-opening experience to deal with that many politicians in one area at one time. It was a little overwhelming, but exciting nonetheless.
I'm sorry, could the question be repeated again, please? I didn't quite get it.
I would restate it as, how did you support the general field operation and candidates up and down the ballot in this prior election, if at all?
Support for candidates up and down the ballot came out of my own candidacy, where I ran to bring back a voice for the people. I encouraged everyone to get out and vote. It didn't matter if they were a Democrat, a Republican, an independent. Everyone has a voice, and that voice must be heard. And repeatedly, people said, we're disenfranchised. We don't think it matters. I would explain to them, it does matter. You are important. You do have a voice. Voting is what you can do to at least ensure that someone is going to listen. And so in that, I put in thousands of hours trying to make the public better informed on the issues and trying to encourage them to become active in our politics, in our civic duties that everyone shares and everyone benefits from. And if they don't participate, they have nothing to complain about. Once again, without participation, complaints will not be resolved. Everyone has a voice. Thank you.
Okay, so I started out in the summer and went to the state party convention as a delegate, so I did that. I went to numerous party and candidate events over the election cycle. I did several rounds of check writing to candidates in the party. And then I did 6 shifts of working either early voting or day of election voting as a poll watcher. So I was involved somewhat, I would say. Thank you.
Despite being up on this stage, I am not a campaigner. I am a policy wonk first and foremost. I will say that over the summer, I was an intern with Monroe County Now, the National Organization for Women. I will also say that I have been advocating for candidates the entire time I've been here who I believe reflect the values and needs of Monroe County, Democrats, them all. Generally speaking, even though I am not a door knocker, I do attempt to use my influence, what little of it I have in this community, to advocate people on the fence to vote for who I believe are the better candidates in the race in any given year. But I believe we all have to choose what bucket we put our energy in each and every day. And I was dealing, not to make excuses, with a rather serious medical issue over the summer and the fall. So I did step back from private life briefly while I had that addressed. But I have always been and will always be a supporter of Democratic candidates here in Monroe County. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for the question. All the above. So I gave money, helped to raise money. So I was one of the co-chairs of the Harris Walls event here just a few blocks away, which was successful. Also called people in Pennsylvania. Not so successful, unfortunately. I've been advising the last 3 campaigns as well on cybersecurity. So that started with the Clinton campaign, clearly the Biden campaign, and the Walls campaign. At CHCR, we also do a lot on election security. So we have helped county boards up and down the state with election security issues, including taking them through tabletop exercises for kind of worst case scenarios for what happens when things go awry. So that's one way that we try to give back as well. I think another way to think about it is, frankly, what is it, right, to be a Democrat? What do we think? What are our values? How do we contribute to the election cycle and also when we're off the election cycle? And for me, that's to be, as I said, proactive, progressive, to be engaged, to do whatever we can to help the next generation coming up and help make sure that the least advantaged of us has that helping hand so that we can make this community and frankly the world a better place.
I was very blessed to give birth to my second child, Simon Stonebreaker, in February of this last year, which took up a lot of my time during the primary and in the general. But I am a precinct chair, and I do appreciate all the extra training that Sydney has offered us as precinct chairs. In addition to that sort of role, I also serve as a mentor in something called Run for Something, which is a project that has under 40 politicians who are interested in getting involved. So I mentored several people throughout that campaign. And then finally, as part of the Monroe County Vote Center Committee, I've worked diligently over the last year to build consensus and work together in order to make voting easier in this community by allowing people to vote not only where they live, but also where they work, as well as where they are during the daytime hours, which is something that if we were to adopt, we would be the 68th county to do so. So we're behind on those areas, and I worked a lot on that topic in terms of it. So making things easier to vote has taken up a lot of my last year. Thank you.
Yes, so as many of you probably know, in the primary I ran, I had very little name recognition, and so basically every ounce of my free time went into preparing for questionnaires, forums, or knocking on doors, often 16+ hour weekends. And quite frankly, in addition to neglecting a lot of other responsibilities in my life, my yard, my friends, my family, I also burnt myself out a little bit. And so a lot of the summer, I had a more hands-off approach. So as the question specifically asked for the general, many of the primary winners were not contested. I asked Jody Madeira how I could support her and tried to work with her through her campaign because there was a Republican in that one as well. I worked with my precinct chair, Sarah Bowerly, in Perry 19 to do a little bit of door knocking, but quite frankly, that was really only one day. So after attending the party's van training. I wish I had gotten engaged more, especially on behalf of Thomas Horrocks. I reached out to a lot of people, but I did not do much knocking for him, and I regret that because I think he was a fantastic candidate that I would have loved to see win. So I participated a fair amount, I think, but not as much as I could have, and so Sydney, I apologize.
Thank you. We'll go on to our next and final question.
All right, thank you all for putting your hat in the ring. We appreciate it. Cheryl Munson was a wise and experienced county councilor, and one of her traits that I valued was consensus building. And Sarah Bowerly and I collaborated a little bit on a question that is of interest to both of us. And I wonder if you could talk about an example or a time when you had a difference of opinion and in a policy group or a commission perhaps that you've served on, and how you address this difference.
And we'll go to Andrew and go that way on this round.
Yeah, so I've had the distinct pleasure of serving for years upon years on different boards and commissions here in Monroe County and the city of Bloomington. One example that comes to mind is I was lucky enough to chair the Bloomington Environmental Commission for 3 years, during which we undertook, along with Matt, the rather exhausting task of redoing the Unified Development Ordinance, the planning ordinance for the city. The Environmental Commission drafted dozens, I believe, of amendments to that code, and we were told by city staff that we wouldn't be allowed to offer them up for adoption. And with that, I went directly to the decision makers. I went to the Plan Commission members. I went to the City Council, most notably Council Member Piedmont Smith, and worked with them, lobbying them, explaining our reasoning for those amendments and why we thought they were important and why we thought they were essential for our development as a community in the future. And with that, we were able to get, I believe, over at least a dozen of them adopted into the UDO, into the city code. And that was because I worked with them to find common ground on these issues. I didn't take the first initial no as a final answer. I took it as a challenge to actually be the change I wanted to see in our community, and I was able to do so along with help my other environmental commissioners and other elected and appointed officials in our community. And I believe we were able to make a great impact on that UDO process through those consensus building activities.
So consensus reminds me of the League of Women Voters. So I'm a longtime league member, and the league goes about reaching consensus on many, many different topics everywhere they study. And so I have a lot of experience doing several different studies they've done over the years and really appreciate that process. So I kind of learned early how to do that. And I applied that when I was with the union at the university, especially, I think, at the bargaining table. So we'd be at the bargaining table, and, you know, we're on opposite sides, but then I think it's really important to understand both sides. So you have to understand where all sides are coming from before you can begin to address and hopefully get your point of view understood a little better, so there may be some headway. So I have a lot of experience doing that. I think, you know, it's just necessary to bring people together and talk. I like to do that. My mother says I have the gift of gab. I don't know, but I like to talk. And I think that it's just really important to get those discussions out in the open and bring all sides together and work on something that will work.
I think that my experience most directly with consensus building took place while campaigning over the last 2 years, speaking to different people from different walks of life, be they conservative or be they liberal. Everyone has an opinion and they'd like to share it. The first thing is to listen deeply and understand what their concerns are, then to think, and to think how their view can match up with someone who is diametrically opposed, and how if there is ground in the middle where folks can be brought together, then we can achieve a more rounded and successful outcome. Every day I learned. Every day I listened. Every day things became more clear that no matter if two parties come together, there is always a way to bring out a collaborative approach and to be willing to allow for that collaborative approach to continue to evolve. And we do this every day in our lives. It's important to build consensus, to build understanding. And mostly that is done through just showing up, listening, and then taking those perspectives in and holding even those perspectives which we might not agree with as valid and worth representation. Thank you.
All right, everybody. As I'm sure you know, I'm a low man on a totem pole in city government working at the Housing and Neighborhood Development Department, so collaboration and consensus building is my day-to-day. In working through the Housing Department, we deal with the Board of Housing Quality. You gotta work with them. You gotta work with the landlords. You gotta work with the property owners and the agents in order to get a deal that everybody is not always happy about, but what works best for our community. That's what I've got.
Thank you. Richie.
So I think whether you're on the right side of the vote or the wrong side of the vote, you still have a voice. And if you aren't afraid to speak your piece and put it all out on the table, then you've done all you can do. You got to persuade the others to see your side, or they got to persuade you to see their side. But I mean, it all comes down to just communication.
Yeah, to me, consensus building is often just about having as many conversations as you can, but also understanding that even if you have a difference of opinion, which I've had plenty with commissioners, city council members, lots of people over the years, but it's understanding that everyone's coming from a position of good faith. And it's possible that my opinion will shift from having those conversations, and it's possible their opinion will shift from having those conversations. So to me, when you have a difference of opinion, it's just important to involve as many people as you can, collaborate to the best of your ability, because we're all trying hard and we have to arrive at the best policy we can for our residents. And so effort and assuming good faith are important factors to me. Thank you.
So something that's really important to me is shutting up and listening is really important to me as terms of listening to where people are coming from, where their needs are, and developing those relationships in order to think through what those implications are and how we can align things together. This is not to say that I think that there's always going to be conflict in government, and that we need there to be conflict in government, because that's when ideas grapple with each other. And I think being really aware of where people are coming from is really important. And then I think Cheryl was really, really good at this. But relationships matter, right? Relationships, beyond just, when someone comes to budget hearings, you should be developing those relationships throughout the year. You should know about their wins as well as their losses as departments. You should know about their pain points. You should know about their projects. I think that those are really that's where we really shine as local government, is when we build those relationships. And I think the position of county council is a good place to build those relationships across different areas. And so that's something I really think about in terms of working together, is building those relationships and listening very, very closely so that I can understand where someone's coming from, where their work is taking them. And then I'm just going to borrow from Liz, because Liz said this in a previous DWC, but always looking towards the future. So always thinking, well, this is the past, but let's think towards the future. What does the future look like for us? Let's live in that world versus in the past. And I think that that's really wise, and I really think that that's something that I would take with me.
Thank you.
That was well said, Ilana. I have a little bit of an equation for this, I'm sorry, but some of the work from the workshop deals directly with this issue of how you build trust. And Lynn had 3 steps you take. First, communication, as we've said, that can lead to coordination, which leads to confidence building measures. And ultimately trust, which is the most important resource. That's what we're building trust. Trust, as you all know, is a resource in very short supply today. Local government is really the last bastion of trust, for lots of folks. So the way I approach this question of consensus building is taking those 3 steps, identifying those opportunities to have the conversations as we've heard, to coordinate closely, take those confidence building measures. That's come up in different forms for me. I remember at the food bank when we were deciding whether to buy now what's affectionately called the Danix, expanding that. It was a big bite for a small nonprofit at the time, but it's really given its dividends, especially as our county suffered so much food insecurity over the last few years. As well as at IU, frankly. I was the founding chair of our program, the first program in cybersecurity, the first program across any field that brought together 3 schools under one umbrella. Talk about turf wars, good Lord. It was a bit of a battle from start to finish, but we got there by, frankly, taking those steps. And we've been able to add on to this over the years, including through a new cyber core program where students go off into government service, right? So I think instilling that desire, those opportunities, really from the ground up is an important aspect of how I approach these opportunities as well. So thanks very much.
With that, and that is good timing, we are closing the question period, and each of you is afforded up to 2 minutes to make a closing statement. And this time we'll start with you, Rob, and go to Joe next. And you'll hear the ding at 1:30 and have 30 more seconds, hopefully.
Gotcha. I did not prepare a closing statement, but I'm just glad to be up here. I'm glad that we've got such a wide caucus today. It really just shows that people are eager to participate in our city and county's government. I'm just excited for, to see how the county moves. This is awesome. And thank you guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Davis.
Thank you all for listening to us and taking into consideration what we have to say. Every day is better. Every day is better when we put the needs of others before our own. The people have a voice. I have my lifelong been a champion of the people's voice and their needs, from housing, affordable food, justice. The people are the government. What's good for the people is good for everyone. I have already spent many, many, many hours advocating. I will continue to advocate. It is my life to be in service to others. I wish to continue to bring others into this fold, because together we can create the community that we envision, a community where everyone feels safe, protected, has opportunity, and every day is better. And with you all, every day will be better. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's my pleasure to be here today and to be able to give to you my history, my interest, and my commitment to serve this community in the future. I'm ready, I have the time, and I'd like your vote to do that. I appreciate you all enduring this whole process, but it's a necessary process that doesn't come quick or easy. Decisions need to be made when things happen, and that's where we're at. So I would be honored and really appreciative if you would select me, and I pledge to do the best I can do to continue to serve Monroe County.
You.
It's been a pleasure to meet with you all today, and it's also been a pleasure to get to know my fellow candidates a bit better. I think I speak for all of us when I say it's just an honor to even sit up here, let alone actually be considered for this important role. As I've said repeatedly throughout this process, I believe there is more that brings us together today than divides us, and I'm confident that we up on this dais all share more priorities, ideas, and values with one another than we do not. I want to urge the caucus voters to consider one thing. The vigor, passion, and energy with which the chosen candidate will pursue those goals and priorities on the council. I have a proven track record of getting stuff done locally in our governments, often going against very strong forces that opposed our work. And I did so because it was the right thing to do for our community. And I will always do what is right over what is easy or politically expedient. I also have a proven energy and drive to be consistently involved in our community, regardless of the work that needs to be accomplished. While many of our values and priorities as candidates may be similar, I do think there is a marked difference in our approach to governance and our drive for instituting the processes of change. While county council is not a full-time position, it does require full-time effort to prepare for and attend different meetings, monitor regional, state, and national developments that may provide opportunities or pose challenges for the county, and to learn the art of governing from a position on the council. And I believe I possess the drive, passion, and fortitude needed to do so. I am encouraged today by the dialogue we have had with many of you and with other candidates on the future of our county. I'm honored to be considered to build that future alongside all of you. Thank you for your consideration and service, and thank you to my fellow candidates for running as well.
As someone who's had the good fortune to spend more than half my life in Bloomington, but also travel the world, I know what's unique about this community, and frankly also how we can make it even better together. First, I just want to say thanks to everybody up here and to all of you. This is a good tonic, especially looking ahead to tomorrow. I feel much better already about the state of our democracy, so thank you. It's been a pleasure in so many ways to have these wonderful conversations with you all and to learn from you all. My only goal in doing all this, frankly, is to find opportunities to serve, to give back to this community that's given me so much, and I've already found new ways to do that, so I'm really excited about that. In terms of where I think we go from here, and to sum up, again, I want to underscore infrastructure, building for the long term, thinking about not only addressing our technical debt, but not making some of these problems worse, and planning ahead for the waves that are coming, whether it's AI-related privacy issues, you name it, right? I also think we need to do a lot more to consider seamless county services, right? Like, for example, a countywide 311's been discussed for a while. Let's do it. Let's find funding to do it, right? Let's get more digitized services, especially to our rural residents, and work together to help make this a community that we can all be proud to call home. So, again, thank you so much for the opportunity. We welcome your support, and good luck with the rest of today, everybody.
I just want to, I bought like a gratitude journal at Target because it was $3 yesterday. And one of the pages said, today I hope I feel. And the question I said, I hope I feel grateful. And that's how I feel, is really grateful to be on the stage, to hear from all of you. As in my kind of closing statement, I want to go back to one of Cheryl Munson's platforms that she ran on, which I shamelessly stole for my own campaign and never apologized for. So sorry, Cheryl, but fiscal stewardship. I think that fiscal stewardship is something that I think about all the time in terms of finance, about how do we fund our values, how do we think about how our values are affected by what we know, and how do we better understand our community so that we are the most proactive and the most empathetic that we can be. So today we've talked about all sorts of different things. I feel really grateful that we got to talk about some of our most vulnerable populations today. And I thank you all for your work as precinct chairs, and I hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
All right. If I earn support from enough of you here today to be appointed to the Monroe County Council, I want you to know what kind of council member I plan to be. I'm the type of person who shows up and puts in the work. In my 8 years on the Bloomington Environmental Commission, I've been one of the most active volunteers, done significant research and preparation, and haven't missed a single meeting. Within the party, I've volunteered for people's campaigns at every level locally, and recently walked for 7 candidates in the last 3 years. Hopefully, I'm just getting started there. Both personally and professionally, I've demonstrated competence as a teammate and as a decision maker. I work well with others, I seek out relevant information, and stand up for ideas and for people. I'd be honored to earn your vote here today. Thank you so much to everyone for giving all the candidates your time and consideration.
Carter?
Well, it's been an honor to share the stage with all of you guys up here. Good luck to whoever gets it. I think whoever gets it is worthy of the seat, and it'll be your seat. I mean, I know we all miss Cheryl, all of us that knew her and worked with her, and we'll do our best to honor her, but that's a lot of experience, and you're not going to replace that just by taking over the seat. So good luck to all of you guys. Everybody that votes, just vote for the best candidate that you feel is worthy of the position. If that's me, great. If not, I'm sure we're in great hands with whoever gets it. So I guess we'll go vote now.
Thank you.
Before we get set up for voting, I'll tell you how we're going to do that process, and I'm also going to call the names off that I didn't have checked in to be sure that I didn't miss anybody. It's easier to go through the list of people who aren't here, because at this point we are at 90% attendance, which I think we should celebrate. That part, what we're going to do is we are going to set up these boards here. We're going to call you up 7 at a time. Efrat, Vice Chair Efrat will have the ballots over here for you to cast your votes. You will come down here and put them in the box and then sit down. We're trying to get it to go through as quickly as possible. So please listen for these names. If you did show up after the start time, just raise your hand and let me know, okay? I have Emma Schreberg. Okay. Scott Rogers, Joanne Calabrese, Courtney Daly, Curtis Cummings, Jordan Miller, and Byron Turner. Okay. All right, give us just a couple minutes to get that set up, and then we'll get rolling.
Very impressive.
Oh, you got a hot. Do we all have hot mics?
I
was wondering how that was going to work.
So to go there,
That's it. No, that's it. Put the folder up for the test. Elections. No, I thought for sure in cycling we did a box. Like I remember, back at the exam, right? Like, and there was like the guy you always voted. But no, I guess they're just too worried about, I don't know, parents and school board. It's kind of sad, right?
I mean, like, yeah, because I remember who I voted for, and I still think back to that, because they were very illogical decisions.
Well, of course they were.
They were very much.
All right, folks, I need you to quiet down,
Makes sense as a child. Exactly.
That's fine.
Yes.
We're kicking you out.
All good. All good. Leave the hot seat.
Well, we're private, so.
We're doing it again in 2 weeks. New candidates.
Love it. Not at all. Can we help at all?
No, I think.
No. Okay.
So we have.
No, for sure.
It's okay, like, do you want me to sit out there? Because I'm a PC.
We have 10 minutes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Get out. What's that?
Get your shit, get out. Thanks for getting me. Thanks for getting me out.
I guess they just turned. Let's see. That might be it. Maybe. I shouldn't really be talking.
Well, I was like, well, as long as you asked it, because I was going to ask. well, somebody's thinking about doing that, and I was like, okay, then I'll just sit here. Was it okay? Yeah, that's
I was like,
good.
Ready for re-election?
All right, everybody, we need to quiet down and listen up. All right, our first 7 to come up, as you can see, we're going to do it around this other side. You're going to go over to a front, drop it in the box, and go sit down. We're trying to make it as quick as possible. So my first 7 are Richie Carter, Tree Martin, Eric Schmitz, Daniel Jenkins, Nicole Bolden, Jeff McKim, and Alana Stonebreaker. Will someone make sure Alana comes back in the room? Okay. That's fine. If she's designated you, that's fine. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
All boxes over there.
Box is over here. Yep. Everybody up there? All right. Listen up for the next 7, please. I know it's antsy and we want to talk, but it'll go quicker if we stay quiet. All right. Brianne Gregory, Steve Wyatt, Jill Gilloff, Julie Thomas, Jean Smith, Jelaine Kinsey, and Daniel Bingham. Those are my next 7. Ed, she'll be in this next round, okay?
Next round.
Yeah. So my next round is 7. Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed.
She's second. Yeah, she was second round.
There are pens up there. I don't have any extra at the moment, so you can use that one. Thank you. Drop it. Yep. Yep.
How long was in the first or second round, right?
First round.
First round.
Yep. Did you get her? Okay. All right, we're ready for round 3. I need you guys quiet. Asia Jester, Sue Scambolari, Sydney Zulich, Charlotte Zitlow, Mark Stosberg, Matt Fife, and Susan Luther. I got it right, right? Asia? It's Asia, right?
Yeah, there's pens, should be pens around.
Good job. Thank you. Are you done? Right here. All right, we're ready for the next round of people. Brad Swain, Elizabeth Rosenbarger, Erica Oliphant, Chris Ravenna, Sue Wanzer, Adrian Evans Fernandez, and Isabel Piedmont Smith.
Name on it?
You.
I was going to fill in.
Okay, we're ready for our next round. Chrissy Giles, Rachel Jones McAfee, Jennifer Crossley, Patricia Williams, Manuel Diaz Campos, Sam Udick, and Regina Moore.
How are you? Good to see you. Happy New Year.
It doesn't matter. If you want to, you can. Okay, we're ready for the next round. I need you quiet. I know you're antsy, but it takes longer if you don't be quiet. Jack Davis, Iris Kiesling, Sarah Bowerly, Shelley Yoder, April Hennessy, Margie Rice, Dan Combs. Yeah, coaching will do that to you. I went and, yep, and smashed it good. Like, good. Like, do you have any ice? I really need ice. He's like, I'll see if I can find some.
Where's the cash bar?
That's what ballot box.
All right, we're ready for the next round. Penny Githens, Ed Robertson, Karen Renbeck, Matt Flaherty, Stephen Volan, Sarah Cooper, and Pamela Jones Davidson.
Good projection.
Thank you.
That sweater is really I just threw the cap.
Whatever your preference is fine. Yep. Around the horn. You have to do an obstacle course to get here. It's part of the deal.
Yeah, you are making this go fast, actually.
Okay, we're ready for the next 7. Ruben Marte, Lee Jones, Susan Dabkowski, Kate Rosenbarger, Joan Hall, and Sarah Owen. Coaching has its perks. Yep. We've got our final round of people. Us poor people in Van Buren in Washington. Jim Sims, Will Smith, Wayne Shepard, myself, Kathy Smith. Obstacle course
It's
here.
kind of a maze, isn't it?
A little bit.
I'll take both.
On the horn. Hi. Not too bad.
Are you retiring with them or something?
I want to make sure I announce who our vote watchers are. Do you think? All right, I need your attention one more time before you can go wild talking for a little bit. We have all the votes in. I'm going to retire to whatever room it is David said we have.
Commissioners conference room.
I have my 2 tally takers, but I need the vote watchers that have been established for candidates. I have Nick Kappas for Andrew Gunther. Please head outside of the doors. Which way? Oh, sorry, this way. This way. Jody Madeira, are you here? I didn't see her. Okay. Trent Deckard, Isak Asari, April Hennessy, and Jack Davis.
Okay, and everyone's welcome to stretch their legs, take a quick bathroom break.
I want to.
Come on back.
Wow.
Stresses out people. Like my students, they freak out. Are you watching? What's that? Oh, voter day. That's fun.
have to make a copy. They didn't have it yet, so I just got nervous. But they have it somewhere. Okay. What day did we do? Okay, so I'll check back. I just wanted a copy, you know, because they're open. As the auditor, I like always check to make sure things are good. Also, I have a copy in my office. Thank you. It just makes me nervous. That's kind of where I'm at. I didn't say that. I didn't hear. But no, she I actually couldn't find it, and then I was a little surprised that all this was happening. Oh, no. Pardon? I just, it's just convenient to be there. So. I know that when I asked for my Oh, you do? Yeah. So you do. That's fine. I was like, no, this seems like it is now. You're here. Repeat it again. Same position. I don't think you're pussy enough. I know. I'm so bored. Are you?
And a little undeserving. And also, no too much to the family here.
Just have a little snack here. Gotta keep up your energy. Oh my gosh, sure. You want any new nuts? Exactly. Yeah, what is that? Make some more. Just actually carry yeah, with the launchers. Thank you. I was worried about yeah. Right. It just, we'd be here for hours and hours if everyone, you know. What's that?
I gave away my basketball tickets because there's nothing you can do about that. You gotta come here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty good, I know. Even with this weather, that's really impressive. Aww. I don't know who, yeah, if like Lee maybe. I mean, that's all we can say, right? Yeah. I know. It's just so gross. Yeah.
How much are we going to talk about?
Yeah. I know.
I just can't even believe how awful people are. Read this and I go around the country. And I've been preaching several times. Money has no value except when you That is so true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a reflection of our ethics. Right.
I mean,
right?
what does he do with his wealth?
Makes penis-shaped spacecraft. Yeah. No, this is great. Thank you. I figure we might be stuck here a minute. How are you? I gotta shake off nut dust.
Shepherd, I'm the presidential Democrat.
For the name, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for everything. No. I was vice chair and secretary back 10, 15 years ago. I did more than a full term. It was just a lot. I jumped back in here to fill the vacancy, but I've got 2 full-time jobs already. Just like, when does your term wrap up?
Mine doesn't end until May of 2026.
Okay. Well,
anyway, I just wanted to come up and introduce myself.
It's so nice to, I know, and I hear so much about, I hear your name come up. I know you've been very active and involved, and it's a pleasure to meet you. Yeah, thanks for all you do.
He pulled me aside and was like, "You're gonna be president this year." And I just
I just didn't know if you're telling everybody it's like, hey, you're all hot mics. David Henry's Earl so-and-so.
It doesn't really work when you talk directly.
It won't shut up.
It doesn't shut up.
Nothing cheap to go at the Caucus.
Oh yeah, I heard that too. I'm pretty surprised.
I'm not busy enough. So, do we need to move forward to the next round. So that's our
I mean, hypothetically, just where these two are at, maybe you've got enough. You've got 5 there, 6, 7. You've got enough votes in if they all went to if they all went to split. It's going to be which one of these two
Isn't that right, Andrew? Great meat styles.
Yes.
And young people.
I look like I'm don't worry about glasses.
You look nice. You look very, very nice. Let's go down.
Thank you. I've always wanted a green jacket.
You look really, really nice.
Got an excuse to get one.
Got that Irish blood. Looks good on you. Can't go wrong with green.
My great grandmother was from here.
Which, where at?
I don't know. She died when I was 7.
My dad's parents are from
But I remember growing up and hearing that accent.
my grandpa, I didn't get my dad, and she had that.
I told someone at school my grandmother was
He would speak to like LA to my grandmother. Nobody else spoke in their family. Okay. So my dad went to that school that's in the state museum.
Quiet down.
Was Yiddish.
That's how it's done.
Dr. Klaus is in Yiddish.
All right, I'll ask the secretary to share the results. Go ahead. I was.
In order for a candidate to move on, they needed to receive at least 4 or more votes. We will go in order from the most votes down to the least. And you're going to talk about the vote watcher. Okay. Okay, so for round 1, we have Liz Feidel with 25, Alana Stonebreaker with 13, Matt Caldy with 11, Scott Shackelford with 5, Rob Council with 3, Andrew Gunther with 2, Richie Carter with 2, and Joe Davis with 0. That's round 1.
Okay,
So those moving forward to the next round will be Liz Feidel, Alana Stonebreaker, Matt Caldy, and Scott Shackelford.
I'd like to thank the candidates who are not moving forward. Let's give them a big round of applause. And we sure hope that you're not strangers. As you can see, there's a lot of ways to get involved and a lot of critical roles that you can get involved with, whether that's at the precinct committee level, at headquarters, on candidate campaigns. Please talk to any of the officers if you're interested in staying involved, and we sure hope that you are. You all did a fabulous job up there. Great diversity of candidates. Thank you. Okay, and let's see, with that,
Move on to the second round.
Yes.
And then about the watchers.
okay, so we're moving on to the second round of voting. And any of the watchers, there was a question about whether they could watch, even if your candidate is no longer in the running, you are allowed to still watch as you were designated a watcher. We'll allow that. So we need to reorganize the ballots real quick. No?
Nope, Louis Mez is right.
Oh, okay.
If you vote for someone who's already been eliminated, that counts.
Okay, did everyone hear that? We're not crossing off the folks who've been eliminated, just for the sake of time, but please remember the 4 moving forward, and if you vote for anyone else, it will be counted as an undervote. Mm-hmm.
Yes. The 4 candidates you have to choose from are Liz Feidel, Alana Stonebreaker, Matt Caldy, and Scott Shackelford. Again, that's Liz Feidel, Alana Stonebreaker, Matt Caldy, and Scott Shackelford.
Okay, and we'll move on to the next round of distributing ballots.
We need to call roll again to make sure that no one left. So I will be calling everybody out this time and taking roll there, okay? All right, here we go. Richie Carter. Tree Martin. Eric Schmitz. Daniel Jenkins. Nicole Bolden. Jeff McKim. Alana Stonebreaker. Breanne Gregory. Steve Wyatt. Jill Gilloff. Julie Thomas. Jean Smith. Jillian Kinsey. Daniel Bingham. Asia Gesture. Sue Scambolari. Emma Schreberg. Sydney Zulich. Charlotte Zietlow. Mark Stosberg. Matt Fife. Scott Rogers. Joan Calabrese. Susan Luther. Brad Swain. Elizabeth Rosenbarger. Erica Oliphant. Chris Ravenna. Sue Wanzer. Adrian Evans Fernandez. Isabel Piedmont Smith. Chrissy Giels. Rachel Jones McAfee. Jennifer Crossley. Patricia Williams. Manuel Diaz Campos. Courtney Daly. Sam Udick. Regina Moore. Jack Davis. Iris Kiesling. Sarah Bowerly. Shelley Yoder. April Hennessy. I'll take a hair, it's fine. Margie Rice. Dan Combs. Penny Githens. Ed Robertson. Karen Renbeck. Matt Flaherty. Steve Volin. Sarah Cooper. Curtis Cummings. Pamela Jones Davidson. Ruben Marte. Jordan Miller. Lee Jones. Susan Dabkowski. David Henry. Kate Rosenbarger. Joan Hall. Sarah Owen. Jim Sims. Will Smith. Wayne Shepard. I'm here for sure. Kathy Smith. And Byron Turner.
Jeff McKim is here.
Okay. Jeff McKim and Tree Martin. So just Jeff? Okay. So Tree dropped off. Okay.
No, it's.
That's 60. Yeah, we gained one. Yep, so we're at 60 now. So we're all right. 161. All right, now we are ready to go through round 2. It's just, yeah. All right, here we go. Richie Carter, Eric Schmidt, Daniel Jenkins, Nicole Bolden, Jeff McKim, Alana Stonebreaker, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Breanne Gregory. That's my first 7. Somebody. I think All right, my next wave, Steve Wyatt, Jill Jilloff, Julie Thomas, Jean Smith, Jillian Kinsey, Daniel Bingham, Asia Gesture.
I feel like you have nothing. Triple gets there.
Okay, my next round is Sue Scambolari, Sydney Zulich, Charlotte Zietlow, Mark Stosberg, Matt Fife, Susan Luther, Brad Swain. My next 7, Elizabeth Rosenbarger, Erica Oliphant, Chris Ravenna, Sue Wanzer, Adrian Evans Fernandez, Isabel Piedmont Smith, and Chrissy Giels.
I'll get some D.
No. I didn't see her. Okay, my next 7, Rachel Jones McAfee, Jennifer Crossley, Patricia Williams, Manuel Diaz Campos, Sam Udek, Regina Moore, Jack Davis.
Babysit you in 4 years?
All right, my next round. All right, we got this. Come on, we can do this. Iris Kiesling, Sarah Bowerly, Shelley Yoder, April Hennessy, Margie Rice, Dan Combs, Penny Githens.
What's that, Sam? I learned that the hard way. It's close.
I gotta show you some pictures. Oh, I want to see them.
Feeling very Elsa.
You want a hug?
No, I'm saying let it go.
Oh. I'm not. I'm like Anna. I'm like Scott. I'm control the bridge.
I know that this is a long day. I understand that, but I really need you guys. Ed Robertson, Karen Renbeck, Matt Flaherty, Steve Volin, Sarah Cooper, Pamela Jones Davidson, Ruben Marte.
My maiden name
name is Jones.
How are you? That I'm not sure.
Those earrings.
Thank you. All right, my next round. Lee Jones, Susan Dabkowski, David Henry, Kate Rosenbarger, Joan Hall, Sarah Owen, Jim Sims.
I respect you. Where is now?
Not taking your hands up. I got it caught good. Like really good.
These people don't fucking deserve to be.
All right, in my last group, bringing up the rear. Will Smith, Wayne Shepard, Ashley Perani, and Kathy Smith.
It's an old table. And there's no striking plate.
How you doing, Mama? I'm good.
This is basically like a big family party. If we don't hash it out, where are we gonna hash it out?
I still want to know where the hors d'oeuvres are. Like, there should be like an hors d'oeuvres.
Honestly, I think order such a favorite. I think that's how they always get all the time because they think it's a political function and not a civic function.
Votes right here. Please don't run into it.
Okay.
Not my pen though, I don't trust it.
I got you.
Has everyone put their vote in? Okay, if you are a vote watcher, please return to the same room that you were in. I think, are tally takers in there? If our tally takers are not in there, please make your way over, please.
Everyone starts driving. Right now, I'm just like a chauffeur. It's my better job. Yeah, I know. Every day.
Thanks for running. I hope you found it to be an interesting process. And I know it's got to be a disappointment to put yourself on there.
It's always fun. Thank you.
But it's about relationships. It's about, working with band and karate.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My spare time.
How do you like it?
Yeah, she's bad. She's not like Charlie.
Is her program?
It's her graduate.
Okay.
So she's studying Asian. German school is really strong type, which is her area of particular focus, which is really weird, but it requires at least a semester in Thailand, and she is working with her director so she can spend the last year with her in Thailand. She was like, it makes more sense. Yeah. So I was like, cool, that's very cool. Yeah, so she'll be in Germany, will be a year in March, and then she'll be moving to Thailand in June, and she'll be there for a year. Yeah. We've been trying to figure it out, and I think we are tentatively scheduled to spend Christmas in Thailand. Oh, sweet. So, your other kid will be able to do it. So, it was kind of we had a family discussion because it's for Christmas in Thailand. Yeah. It's going to be expensive as hell to get there. But I heard once you're there, though, it was like cheap. Yeah, everything's really cheap. Zora's been looking for an apartment. She was kind of doing a toss-up, like, should I get an apartment or should I just get a hotel room? And I'm like, usually I'm in a hotel, somebody's going to come in. And for the an apartment is, she was like, okay. She's like, do you mind? I was like, I really don't care. It's going to be cheaper than Germany. Germany has been deliciously expensive. And I'm like, I was feeling so happy last year because I was like, oh, I think that's a lot of money to stack away. And I was like, no, I'm going to Germany. And so I started my parents about that really soon. And I was like, how are you? Like just,
It is a busy day.
But Thailand will be so much less expensive than I'm partial to yeah, I told her to go ahead and get like a 2-bedroom apartment in Thailand. So I was like, why? And I said, because even if you're she's like, well, you can just get 1 bedroom and we'll buy a mattress. I'll sleep on the floor and you guys can take my bed. But German apartments are not furnished. When I say not furnished, they not even. If you rent an apartment, you have to buy or a kitchen counter, or even like it's just a room that can't be kitchen. I was like, so and stuff, do you take it with you? And she was like, I was like, sure, I'm leaving it. But they also don't want that. And that town makes Bloomington super cheap and lots of available housing. It's just the average. It's that building we've still got Matt, I did not recognize you. Like I saw you earlier and I was like, oh, who's that guy? Who's that hippie over there? Okay, but before you get rid of it completely, will you do like a mohawk or an undercut or something like that? Yeah. Well, you gotta do like or like ponytail. Or do that thing where, like, have you ever seen it where they do like dyeing their hair underneath, so like when you lift it up?
So actually, I talked to people. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, like do a rainbow. Yeah. It would look cool, and your kids would love it.
My son has, like 6 months, 4 months ago, we started being like, I'd like to dye my hair. Yeah, right. Interesting. And we didn't like do it the next day. We're like, let's get this to the same day. And then he comes in, I'm like, what's your hair? So one day we got some like, wash out the next shower. We did it. I think you like it. It's like, I was in thoughts. So we like dyed his hair, right?
I tried to dye my hair purple when I was in high school, but I didn't know that you're supposed to strip your color first and then purple it. So I looked at the comic books that showed Superman where it had that blue glint on the black. That's what I looked like. It was black, but there was this purple shine every time the light hit it. I loved it. Yeah, it was great. And then all my showers were purple for like a year. And my mother got so tired of it. She's like, we got to learn how to strip the back. And I was like, I did. She's like, it's purple.
The second motion was like, fifth round.
Good. A little busy. I was telling Efron about my daughter being away for school, so it's like shifted my rhythm of like what I need to do. I am the deputy chair for cities and towns. Cities and towns. Yeah. So, yeah. But only until March 15th. I am not going to try to continue on as an appointee of the chair because there's a certain loss of autonomy in being somebody's appointee, and I don't like it. When I used to work for you, it sucks. I like to be able to speak for myself, so I am going to run for the 9th District Vice Chair.
Hey, I'm so glad you're here.
No, not the chair. I think vice is an appropriate place to start out. I think a lot of people have this tendency to be like, I'm going to run for President of the United States. And it's like, start by like at least getting a good feel for backgrounding first. So I've been hearing that a lot lately because I'm looking more like my mom. I think it's because we pull the same faces. And I lost weight. And I started wearing more big earrings. And so, also she's giving me all her hand-me-downs because she's losing weight. And so, no.
Appreciate
and so, like, my
always.
closet is
I know
like,
how she's losing weight. What is that?
oh,
Both of you.
she's crackhead.
Oh, okay.
I said she's a crackhead.
Meth or rock?
No, just raw. She just smokes it every night. Just one little bite. She's good. Happy as a clam. You know, it's great. Probably. No, actually, my weight's been going like this for the last year and a half, and I'm kind of tired of it. To the point. Dude, we haven't even done the first round.
It must be nice in Arizona.
I have to drive up to Indianapolis tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. Dana's giving a big speech and we're supposed to go support his partner tomorrow. And then I have a conference to go to in Nevada. No, this is the LGBTQ plus task force that I'm speaking on a couple of panels. It's in Las Vegas, and I do not like that city.
I get you.
Do you like Las Vegas?
It's like Disney.
Do you like Las Vegas?
Like, it's kind of like Disney. A day or two and I'm
That's like
you should go to
I'll try and do that.
It's not hard. Alright. Let me get situated. Pretty sure we're
Heart safe.
but hey, you never know. Thank you. I don't even have a life. Life is no life.
Okay. Okay. If we can all find our seats. If everyone, there you go. Make your way to your seats. And I will ask the secretary to report from that round of voting, please.
Okay, so for round 2, we have Liz Fidel with 28, Alana Stonebreaker with 17, Matt Caldy with 11, and Scott Shackelford with 4. That means for round 3, Liz Fidel, Alana Stonebreaker, and Matt Caldy will be moving forward to the 3rd round.
Thank you, Mr. Shackelford. I don't know where you are, but let's give you a round of applause. There he is. And with that, we will move into round 3, which we now have the Q&A option of up to 30 minutes or until all questions are exhausted. And we will prepare, maybe if you could push out the podium, and anyone who wants to ask a question there can line up. Let's have the candidates come back up and put up their name tents by where they would like to sit. And we'll take the boards down and get ready.
On the ends right here, maybe. Just right in a row. Is that okay? Yeah. Just have to.
Yeah, it's on.
Quite a. Oh, okay.
Copy of that motion that was made for that second round of voting.
Do you have them?
This one's fine too. If it's annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, I can just be right here. Okay. Good.
Where the hell did I put it?
I'll have
How many for 30 minutes? Thank you.
As soon as they start.
This is actually a scary spot. I almost rolled my chair off the platform earlier. It's pretty good. Yeah, almost. Yeah, it slid aside.
Yeah, I know. There should be a little railing there, a little guardrail.
It's a dangerous spot.
Okay, are the candidates ready to take their seat? All right, we're missing one. Our 30-minute period of Q&A will begin as soon as Regina starts asking her question.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks to the members who are no longer in this caucus. I really appreciate everybody being here. As a council member, people, organizations, other elected officials will be appearing before you wanting your approval for something. Some of their statements will promise the world. Some of them may not. But you have to determine what's the actual truth. Hemingway said something about success being tied to a built-in crap detector. Tell me about your crap detector.
Crap what?
I want to know about your crap detector.
Oh, crap detector. I got it now. A different four-letter word.
My husband told me I shouldn't say shit detector.
Okay, got it.
It's fine. We're all adults. Okay, and we'll start with candidate Caldy, and then we'll stagger. You have 2 minutes, and the timer will ding when you have 30 seconds left.
That is an interesting question. I'm not sure how in this setting to demonstrate or prove any any faculties in that area. I do feel like, generally speaking, when in conversation with people or when receiving presentations, I feel pretty good at reading between the lines. I feel pretty good at determining what people are actually trying to say, even if they're saying something differently. So that puts me in a position to kind of be pragmatic sometimes, because sometimes in this position, they're going to be asking for things you can't give out of a limited number of funds. And so it'll allow you to kind of reduce the issue to what's most important and hopefully find a solution that works for those parties. So thank you.
Thank you.
So, my crap detector. Where shall I start? I have 12 grandkids. It's pretty good there. I have served at the bargaining table. Not bad there. I have represented people on the job. Not bad at all there. I had a nearly 100% success rate with grievances, and they weren't really grievances. They were just conversations where we'd go in and talk, and we'd get to the bottom of everything. That's what I was told I was good at, was I get to the bottom of everything, and I mean everything. I don't give up. I'm very tenacious. I've been told that before. I enjoy that skill set, and I think it helps to get to the bottom of it, to go on and make good decisions. So I would enjoy being able to do that again and apply that wherever I could.
I would say that as my day job, I'm a librarian, and crap detecting is something that I do for my job. So I definitely have a lot of skills in that area, from the circumventing of various different sources to understand it. But on a people basis, I think it's important to know that it may seem like crap to me, but it could mean something real to that person. And so making sure that everyone's inside of their own story, and I'm someone in their story, right? So making sure that I understand where they're coming from and where those issues are, I think on a human level is what, even if for lack of a better term, they are full of crap, I do think it's important to try and find commonality in terms of it. But thanks for the question.
You. Next question, please.
I'm Gene Smith, and I'm going to make one quick statement. That is that I've owned a bike shop here in Bloomington for 49 years, and with what's happening to transgender people, it's the first time I've ever thought about leaving the state and my country. What I want to say also that I have become a caregiver, and I'm taking care of my soulmate, who's in memory care now, and feeding her every night. And I oftentimes am feeding 3 people, and Medicare pays nothing towards these expenses. I noticed we were talking about the jail and the convention center, and I think, what are those things to the average voter? I mean, yes, we need to have people in jails. Drawing in people for a convention center, is that as important as the graying, aging public and a Republican Party that might end Medicare as we know it? So we need to prepare for our aging public, which I think was mentioned, how the percentage of our public that's not working anymore. So anyway, I would just like to have you talk about how we address the voters and the needs of them that may not be as big a budget items right now.
Thank you. And Ilana and Matt.
That's a great question in terms of how we address those. I think it's a combination of different factors. Some of it is just getting out of the building, getting out of all of our areas and really talking to people. When I ran for office before, I had a lot of chance to talk to a lot of people about what was important to them in terms of county government. I knew what county can do, but I think when you're standing in front of someone at their door, and Matt may know something about this too, they don't care what area you come from or what the law says you can do or not do. And I think about that. That's the other job of elected officials, is to help people connect to what they need, right? And so when I was on county council before, I would say only about maybe 5% of questions that I got had directly to do with something and within the county's purview, but I worked very hard to make sure that they found those people and that they were able to understand the implications and the next steps. And I think that that's really important. And it's something where we all have our opinions on how the jail should be run. We all have our opinions about how we should do this convention center. But I think there's also the opinions of the day-to-day and how to help people find what they need is something that is a core value for me as a librarian, as a boss, as a county council member.
I think it's a great question, and unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the answers in that area will be determined by officials that aren't on the county council. However, it is very important to me to address everyday working issues for people's commute, for people's health. The jail is important. The convention center is important. I want to take nothing away from those and, kind of separate it from the question. But I do agree we have a very, very expensive community that we live in. And so it's very important to prioritize and allocate the funds that we have as best we can. I think sometimes too much of the emphasis is on some of the very big issues that are regularly in the media, and we don't talk about day-to-day life and the way that we need to make things work for as many people as we can. Focus, on the entire population, including the aging population, and not accidentally emphasize other issues. So, thank you.
So yes, caregiver. I'm very familiar with that role. And memory care as well in that role. I'm well aware Medicare doesn't do anything, pretty much. Aging public issues are a big issue here. We have a good-sized retirement community here, and I think we've learned that from the feedback I get from the hospital, which is that in the beginning, I particularly, and others were told in some groups I was in, that nobody knew we were a real retirement community when they built the new facility. Holy cow, how did that happen? We've been a retirement community for quite a while, as far as I can remember. So I think even planning things like that makes a difference. So I think I've long served as a resource person, certainly in my role as the AFL-CIO Community Services Liaison. I would get calls all the time. Got a famous one when I was on a ship talking to somebody out on the balcony about where they could get resources for their mother. I am an advocate for providing resources and finding out where they are. If I don't know where they are, I'll ask somebody else to figure it out and help me to find that out. So I think that that is a huge issue. If the county doesn't do it, who does it, right? And can the county step and do more? I don't know for sure. So it's all about priorities. And I would like to be a part of helping to talk about setting those priorities.
Question. Ms. Gibbons, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the three candidates who are here, to everybody who's shown up today. As I said before, I think this is a very important position going forward, and it impacts what happens in our county for years to come. Several years ago, the county council contracted with Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy, known as WIS, to update job descriptions and recommend salary levels. This study compared salaries of Monroe County employees with the salaries of employees in other counties. Now, I feel that, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, that this study was flawed because it didn't take into account other governments that we have locally, it didn't take into account educational institutions, private and nonprofit organizations that we have to compete with for employees. So, and we know that over the past few months, the City of Bloomington significantly increased the salaries of its employees. We just lost our stormwater director, for example, and I understand that she took a position with City of Bloomington Utilities and significantly increased her pay. I'll put it that way. But this puts further strain on Monroe County's ability to attract attract and retain qualified, dedicated staff. And as one of the other candidates said, we don't want to get into a bidding war with the city, but I certainly think that we should be doing better for the county employees. So what will you do to address the situation of making sure that we adequately pay adequate wages to our employees and that we're in a position to attract and retain really qualified people?
Thank you. And Mr. Caldy, it's yours first.
Isn't it? No.
I wasn't snaking. I'm sorry.
Liz.
I was going that way, but.
Who's going first?
Okay, we can go Liz, that's fine. Sorry.
I think it's my turn, if
Okay,
I'm keeping
my
track.
apologies if I miscounted that.
Okay, so I think I spoke with somebody else about this issue with regard to salaries and what we can do from this area competing against the areas we have. So I would be very much in favor of realizing what it is that each job in whatever entity, the county's entities or outside entities, are making in what is called the total compensation package. So you've got salary, you've got benefits, you've got time off, you've got sick days. It's a big package, right? So sometimes you're not comparing apples to apples. And I think that makes a difference, right? So you have to figure out what it is people are interested in and where they can find a happy home with a salary that they can live with regard to what their needs are with the others. Maybe they don't need insurance. Maybe they can get that with a spouse or a partner. Maybe they don't need whatever the package is. But it needs to be done in a way where we can't stop having the constant robbing of those people. So I think stability is important. So I think that as far as the review went, I think that it is important to base the review on the position, right? So what is the work that we're evaluating and deciding what has been paid? So what is the work? Is that an equal comparative analysis? I think that should be the basis for that review.
I'm familiar from my time previously with Wagner, Urban, and Shealy salary things. We had those also when I was last on county, and I agree they're also flawed because they're also averages. And if anyone knows anything about math, the average of anything isn't meaningful just by itself. You need to understand where the medians are in terms of it and the means and things like that. And that's something I've felt before with that particular study. That said, I do think that it is time to get a little bit more creative about how we think about compensation, right? So whether that's more creative with our budget, thinking about how we can fund in order to stay competitive with the city of Bloomington, or is this being, like we said, more competitive in terms of our total compensation package? I know that from talking with the sheriff, that there are, work with pensions that they've done as part of that work that has certainly, I think, helped our retention there. But I do think that those studies themselves, I think, often put a lot of pressure on governments in a lot of different ways, and I don't think they're as meaningful as the type of analysis we can do internally. And so I would just say that I trust our HR department. I would trust our personnel committee to think really deeply and to think a little bit more thoughtfully about that issue.
I think this is a really interesting question, and it sort of exemplifies what makes this job so difficult. Because you want to do as much as you can for residents in every aspect. You want to make sure that county employees are paid properly, but you also want to fix roads and build jails and do all these things. And as we move out of the Biden administration, which provided a lot of federal dollars to assist us in some of those things, it seems like that might dry up. And so how do you then prioritize what to do with the money you do have? And as far as inputs go, it's hard to see a good, easy, clean path forwards without expanding the tax base. And that is difficult to do without more dense home building. And that is difficult to do with a pending annexation lawsuit. And I guess what I'm driving at is I appreciate the complexity of these questions and working towards solving them, but a lot of those things will have to be resolved prior to it ever reaching a county council member. So, thank you.
Other questions for the candidates?
Thank you so much for running. One question about our Veterans Affairs here in Monroe County and caring for them. There is a push at the state level to move all county Veteran Affairs to the state level and funding them there and not having them funded through the county. I would love to hear each of your thoughts on that and what you would do to best care for our veterans in our county. Thank you.
This time it will be Matt first.
I appreciate that question. I was not familiar with that move, and I don't know exactly how it'll affect the budgets either. I'm excited to learn more about it, though, because I think everyone can agree that veteran care is important. But at this time, that's an issue I'm going to need to learn more about before I can give a good answer. So, sorry.
I think that I wonder at this point how the new, as I understand it, there's a new veterans facility being built on the northwest side of the community. And so I wonder what'll happen with that, right? I mean, that's a veterans service place as far as I know. So I'd be more in favor of keeping things local. I think people not having to go an extra distance to do their business, to take care of the affairs they need to take care of as veterans would be very important to veterans and their families. So I think local is better one-on-one. So I would not be in favor of having anything moved to the State House to have it disconnected from being local.
This is a topic I'm not really that familiar with in terms of it. So one thing I would probably do is ask Shelley Yoder what her opinion was on that particular issue. But since that's not an option in this case, I think I would definitely find stakeholders in the community and talk to them more about it. I mean, I can see, like, obviously anything the State House does, I mean, we're in Monroe County, we're probably against. But I want to know a little bit, that's a joke, but I do want to know a little bit more about what the thought process is, because there could be synergistic things that come out of that could be really positive for Monroe County. So I would really want to work with our State House to better understand what that future looks like, should that pass, and also what opportunities might exist in either case. So I think thinking a little bit more of whether I'm for or against, but rather what are the implications of that upon our fiscal priorities, and also how can we better collaborate is how I would look at that problem.
Questions? Okay, having exhausted all questions, I'll turn it over to the secretary for our next round of voting.
While I do roll call, will Treasurer Renbeck set up the voting station again, please? So listen for your name. We have to make sure that our counts are still the same. Richie Carter. Tree. Eric Schmitz. Daniel Jenkins. Nicole Bolden. Jeff McKim. Alana Stonebreaker. Breanne Gregory. Steve Wyatt. Jill Gilloff. Julie Thomas. Here. Jean Smith. Jillian Kinsey. Daniel Bingham. Good. Asia Gesture. Sue Scambolari. Emma Schreberg. Sydney Zulich. Charlotte Zitlow. Yeah. I got you. Mark Stosberg. Matt Fife. Scott Rogers. Joanne Calabrese. Susan Luther. Brad Swain. Elizabeth Rosenbarger. Erica Oliphant. Chris Ravenna. Sue Wanzer. Adrian Evans Fernandez. Isabel Piedmont Smith. Chrissy Geels. Rachel Jones McAfee. Jennifer Crossley. Patricia Williams. Manuel Diaz Campos. Courtney Daly. Sam Udick. Regina Moore. Jack Davis. Iris Kiesling. Sarah Bowerly. Shelley Yoder. April Hennessy. Margie Rice. Dan Combs. Penny Githens. Ed Robertson. Karen Redbeck. Matt Flaherty. Steve Volan. Sarah Cooper. Curtis Cummings. Pamela Jones Davidson. Ruben Marte. Jordan Miller. Lee Jones. Susan Dabkowski. David Henry. Joan Hall. Kate Rosenbarger, sorry. Sarah Owen. Jim Sims. Will Smith. Wayne Shepard. I am here. Kathy Smith. Okay. So that puts us at 59. Okay. All right, we ready to go?
All right, let's do it. Same, you know the drill by now, right? Oh, I did. Oh my gosh, thank you for seeing that.
All right, here we go. Richie Carter, Eric Schmitz, Daniel Jenkins, Nicole Bolden, Jeff McKim, Alana Stonebreaker, Breanne Gregory.
I just remembered he called me this week and I need to call him back.
Interesting. What are they getting calls about running for state vice chair? Brett is reporting that Pritchell is getting calls from people to run for state party vice chair. Sure, yes.
All right, my next wave. Jill Gilloff, Julie Thomas, Jean Smith, Jillian Kinsey, Daniel Bingham, Aja Jester, and Sue Scambolari. Fair enough.
You need to go over your thing.
Who's still in it?
All right, my next wave. Sydney Zulich, Charlotte Zitlow, Mark Stosberg, Matt Fife, Susan Luther, Brad Swain, Elizabeth Rosenbarger. All right, next round. Erica Oliphant, Chris Ravenna, Sue Wanzer, Adrian Evans Fernandez, Isabel Piedmont Smith, Chrissy Gills, Rachel Jones McAfee.
Should have thought about buying a suit or a gun or something. They had the auction on the 1st.
Oh, really?
Somebody showed up at something and they opened their coat.
Everybody's getting their steps in today.
There you go.
Jennifer Crossley. Hey, we need you quiet. Jennifer Crossley, Patricia Williams, Manuel Diaz-Campos, Sam Udek, Regina Moore, Jack Davis, Iris Kiesling.
Just watch your head there.
I know, I was
I learned that the hard way.
I think we all have. Yes. Sarah Bowerly, Shelley Yoder, April Hennessy, Margie Rice, Dan Combs, Penny Githens, Ed Robertson.
Writing candidates. No writing candidates. Adding more to the next is so high. Good idea.
I'm ready. Karen Redbeck, Matt Flaherty, Steve Volan, Sarah Cooper, Pamela Jones Davidson, Ruben Marte, Lee Jones.
We got that right. I'm on metformin and I have to take 4 separate pills a day, but I have to take them through.
Don't do that.
Yeah, so.
That's why I lost 30 pounds, so I could get my doctor if I wanted to do it.
Yes.
Oh,
Whoa, it's just flavor. Yeah, in order to make sure I get all my stuff in, I've got to have flavor to it.
Susan Dabkowski, David Henry, Kate Rosenbarger, Joan Hill, Sarah Owen, Jim Sims, Will Smith.
No, I drink it too slowly. That's the thing. It's like it's just water. It's like my flavor to it, I'll go back to it and everything. It's just the way I've always gone. So.
I learned how to chug food. It's very young. That's what it is. It's disgusting.
All right, my last three, Wayne Shepard, myself, and Kathy Smith. Thank you. I didn't know if somebody was coming in the rear. Maybe. Well, it's either this one or the next one, so. So there's that.
Of course, we gotta be close.
Yes. Unless there was a rapid ship.
All right, I need my tally takers and my vote watchers again to retire to the room while we tally the ballots.
You are so good.
that was the one.
Oh, but then, yeah, like how, I don't know. I'm willing to bet this is
I'm your fellow librarian. I'm your fellow librarian. Yeah. Such another one we have to see. Check. That's me.
It's nice to know that there's more than one involved.
And the recorder, as you know.
Yes. That archivist librarian. But yeah, actually, I'm going to get interviewed Tuesday, which is a friend of mine is writing an article about librarians running for office. Librarians running for office.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah, we'll see. She's going to be in 2000. It's Emily Dickinson. She's like the president. She's like past president of like LA. Yeah. No, I know. I have friends in high places. I have nothing to do with this. But yeah, she reached out to me. She's like, oh, you know what? She did like Facebook or whatever. And I was running it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know. I kind of want to be like everybody was just volunteering with me. Like, like that. I know. That whole thing is like very anxiety inducing.
It would have been so special.
It's so beautiful, right? Right? It's heartbreaking. I know. I mean, some things we don't have to do. I mean, it's either this round or next round. She took the list. But yeah, in terms of like the country, oh yeah. Multiple rounds. No, I'm at IU. Yeah, I'm the business librarian by background. But I oversee like the business library and educational and business sciences library. That's like it's my purview.
Spend a lot of time in the basement. That's right. And so she kept me on, so I'm still doing it. Exactly what I was doing.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah. I like Amy.
Oh, she's sweet.
Yeah.
She loves everybody. Yes.
That's how I remember your name is. Right. So I was on DWC enforcement, and I remember both men were talking a lot about, yeah, we're talking about Gary. Yeah, absolutely.
She kind of resigned by text message.
Oh, no.
6 months before the end of my term. So it's like, okay, I'm ready to reach the corner. I brought Amy in early to be chief deputy for a few minutes. For a few minutes.
All right.
Anyway,
Yeah, thank you. No, that'd be great. Board. See, that's where. Yeah. I mean, I've got a great board, but that might be redundant. E, Sense and Sign, Jessica's wife, Barbara McKinney, and Dorothy. Was it called Dorothy?
As far as I can tell, I'm one of the shortest.
I'll try to think though.
Yes. Yeah.
Find out what's. Did you watch that movie recently? All right. All right, everyone. I'm going to ask the secretary to report the results.
We have a winner.
We had to get 30, right?
The winner needed to receive 30 or more votes in order for us to be done. In the order from least to most, because I have to be dramatic like that, Matt Caldy with 7, Alana Stonebreaker with 22, and Liz Feidel with 30. Congratulations to Liz Feidel.
Okay, let's see if I can get my mic back on. We will be able to swear Liz Feidel in with Clerk Bolden here, and perhaps as you are making your way to that, you'll allow me to just thank a few people again. The sheriff's office has sent someone to help today, so thank you for being here and keeping us safe. I'd also like to thank Katz for recording this on a cold Sunday. I'd like to thank my fellow officers, Chair David Henry, Secretary Ashley Pirani, Treasurer Karen Renbeck. Thank you for helping to make this work so smoothly. I'm going to thank the candidates one more time for. I know it's not easy to go through something like that, but I just reiterate my words about how wonderful you all did, and hoping that you continue to stay involved and grow with us and let us support you in that. And finally, just thank you to all the precinct committee people. That's all of you. That's it's a volunteer role that you sign up for, get appointed to, and I think today, is just one demonstration of the weight of that office that you hold. We hope that in the off season, that we can tap into the power of what is possible within those roles too. So, thank you all. And are we ready to? We need to adjourn the meeting first, and then you're welcome to stay to watch the swearing in. So. Caucus is adjourned.